yet again, so he can tell me how to play Legacy of the Dragonborn.
You did bad.
Listen, I did my best. Also, I did hydrate. Thank you, volleyball. Also, happy belated birthday to David.
Thank you.
Thank you. David's birthday was yesterday. And if anything of historical significance also happened yesterday, he was not involved.
I promise.
Pinky promise. So, what did we do? How many artifacts did we get last time?
Good question. Oh no, I opened the wrong thing.
That's tits.
That is tits.
Yeah, so you're gonna go to...
your tits are on.
Okay, so you're gonna... We talked about this. Okay?
No.
You're gonna unmute the desktop...
Shit, hold on.
You're gonna unmute...
Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Okay, that's the desktop audio. Okay, then mute the BGM.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
and then go to the other scene and make sure it's still good there, because sometimes it fucks with me. And then you're gonna click on... No, you have to get rid of the tits overlay.
What?
God.
Yeah, there it is.
No, but you have to double check in the audio mixer, because sometimes it turns it back on. Okay, is the Skyrim BGM? Yeah. There you go. Okay, and now you're gonna click on tits on the green thing. Yeah. Okay, and then see the little camera in the bottom right?
I do.
Okay, you're gonna click that.
Oh
okay,
wow.
And then you're gonna go to my model.
Oh
go
no.
to VTuber Studio.
You have so many things open.
Being a VTuber is complicated. Okay, and then click on the center of my face, right on my nose,
Okay.
And then scroll wheel out.
Oh,
no,
that's me.
That's you. Okay, and then okay, and then position me wherever you want me.
Okay, get over there. Get in the corner. There we go.
No, now they can't see you. You're on my show.
Oh no. Oh no. Why is my clip?
And then lower me a little bit. Okay, there we go. There you go.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Looks like he's dangling between your hair and your tentacles like a human hammock.
Save me!
Is it comfy over here?
No.
Oh.
Everything's all squiggly.
What's wrong with my squiggle? Not slimy.
Ooh, squiggly.
Are they slimy?
Yeah.
At least you'd tell me if they were slimy.
I gotta be real, little bit.
Oh, I don't want to be slimy. So how many? So if you did not see the first part of this shindig, this is basically, we played Legacy of the Dragonborn, you and me chat together, and I said I was gonna complete it. And then I didn't. And I did so really poorly, because I have crippling ADHD. And David is here to show us how to run the museum correctly. So, David, how many artifacts were we at?
We're at 183.
You love to see it. So, I think a good goal today would be like, what do you think, like 300?
So things are gonna slow down a little bit.
Okay.
We have a few small things we need to take care of.
Like what?
So first we need to go back to Whiterun. Well, that's too damn bad.
Oh.
Because we need to get Amren's family sword.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna pick that up.
I don't remember that quite.
We're also gonna pick up the Iron Hand gauntlets on the way.
Oh, I forgot about those.
There is a standing stone. And then we'll just, pick up random loot and armor and weapons that people give us willingly, and they are not coerced in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, if my chickens look fucked up, don't worry about it. Why would you pickpocket a chicken?
He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have pockets.
I mean, well, I feel like if it says pickpocket, that's like...
Yeah?
Yeah. Eebee kept getting distracted by hot women, twinks, and district items. I think one of those is valid. Which one is really up to you.
You decide.
You decide. Vanya's done enough displays to hit either the final or penultimate quest. Yeah, I think we got the final quest for... Jesus Christ. I think we got the final quest for LOTD last Skyrim Sunday, actually. So that'll be fun. I'm excited. But yeah, so... Where are we going again?
Well, first we're going to go to White River Watch, I think is the name of this one.
That? I don't remember
this is just outside of Whiterun.
Okay.
Because there's a special pair of gloves here. Now I could wait for a quest to bring me here, or I could just do it myself.
Yeah,
so we're gonna do the second one.
Last Sunday with the Daedric quest. I didn't want to read a book, so I just showed up. There's a big difference between completing the quest and filling the entire museum. Yeah, I think with Bonnie we're gonna complete the quest, but we're not gonna complete the entire museum. That's not happening. Oh yeah, just a warning, the dicks broke, by the way.
So you're saying don't look at the dicks?
No, so like don't take his armor because then his dick's gonna pop out.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, like they were fine one time and then all the dicks went to the Shadow Realm and then the penises start popping again. And I didn't like it.
Why do you keep just resummoning and then banishing the dicks?
Well, it's not like I'm doing it on purpose.
It feels like you're doing it on purpose.
No, it's like, well, okay, one day they just
wish
disappeared.
Who the fuck are... Oh, it's Isidore. Get out of here.
Fuck's Isidore?
This guy starts one of the modded quests.
Why did he do that?
I don't know.
What's he got? Foot in the
That's right, this is Foot of the Mountain.
I don't have my glasses on, so I saw it said foot in the mouth. Like foot in the mouth. Okay, hopefully you don't need to take his armor because you can take his underwear though.
I'm not gonna do that.
Everyone, regardless of gender, has a bra and pants. By the way, do with that information with you.
You know, I mean, it's just comfy, I guess.
Cozy.
Okay.
Oh, this is how Clockwork starts? Oh, I forgot about Clockwork, bro. I know we've done it, but it's been a hot minute since we've done it. But yeah, the dicks, like, okay. I already described it. One day, the dicks were fine. Okay?
Okay.
And then I had that moment where I almost, I don't remember what happened, but I had to reinstall Schlongs of Skyrim.
As one does.
Yeah, and I almost broke my game, and I started crying.
Right, I do remember this.
Yeah.
I specifically remember asking you what was wrong, and you said the Schlongs broke my game.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta be careful.
Well, the thing is it's like, wait.
I need his armor.
Sometimes, okay, you know what? Just do it really fast. Oh wait, no. Did his dick pop out? Okay, we're good. No, okay. Sometimes they pop out, sometimes they don't. I don't know why. But the thing is like you say that, but really what it was is I was like sobbing, shitting, crying, like, and you were like, oh my god, what's wrong? I was like, the penises broke my game. And then you were disappointed in me.
I was disappointed.
You're always a little bit.
Not that the penises, not about the penises, but that you broke your game. I expected better.
I feel like that's like just commonplace now. Like I feel like if you expect me not to break my game, then that's misplaced trust, to be honest.
I feel like as a Skyrim content creator, like requirement 1 is just don't break the game.
No.
Okay, all right. You know, it shows what I know, I guess.
No. You tried to install Dumber Dummy Mommy and MILF Factory. Don't tell David about the MILF Factory.
I was in the room, but I...
Oh, yeah, you were!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was busy playing World of Warcraft, so
MILF
I didn't
Factory
interfere.
Ruined everything. Oh, thank you. You were getting some good stuff still.
Yeah, we're gonna pick up some random bits and pieces. It's just the one thing we're specifically here for is, you know, it's just the gauntlets that I super care about, but I'm gonna pick up the other stuff on the way, of course.
Yeah, that's fair. There's something I wanted to tell you, but I can't remember.
Was it about Schlongs of Skyrim?
No, I don't think so. Well...
See, because things more often than not with you come back to Schlongs of Skyrim.
Well, I gotta say.
I don't think I'm saying anything wrong.
I don't agree.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yeah, it's Skyrim. I feel like it's like meant to be broken. Like toes.
Well, no, what?
That's not my way.
Toes?
Oh, you're hard to hear. Oh, it's probably because I'm kind of like, okay, David's in the driver. Let's move the mic, like, let's do it like over here. Is that better?
Is that better?
Hi. Yeah.
Hopefully that's better.
If not, then I'll kill myself.
No, don't do that.
I don't know. But thank you for letting me know. But like, here, maybe I'll just like lean over here, and I'll be okay. Thank you, Apple. I appreciate you. Why did I just do this? There we go. That works. Yeah. So basically, like, what was I talking about?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I got distracted.
Oh, what were you guys distracted by?
I mean, I'm killing bandits.
Oh, well, that's cool. But like,
I'm buying
yeah,
clothes
how do
at
you?
the superstore.
Skyrim's like. What do you mean? It's Mario! Welcome in. I don't know when the rain sound stops, by the way, because I'm not wearing my headphones. So we're just gonna.
Actually, I think the rain sounds like
Oh. What the heck?
I didn't hear anything.
What the heck? You didn't play bass boosted Skyrim?
Yeah, I feel like I would have heard bass boost on Skyrim.
No, well, I think it might have been because it was playing twice at one point, so it got fucked up.
Oh. See, there you go,
It's
break
not-
it.
no,
Oh,
we
play
did
it again.
play.
Okay, maybe.
Good Mario,
Boss.
thank you for the follow. And I'm Gasha Girl Boss. How is your stream? If a mod could shout out in Mario, I'd appreciate it. But welcome to the stream, gamers. If you are new in town, hi, my name is Eebee Games, and I like Skyrim. But the problem is I'm really bad at Skyrim. So I have this little fucker on my shoulder who happens to be my boyfriend named David, who is helping me play Skyrim.
I'm like a parrot, but instead of asking for crackers, I'm just mean to you.
Yeah! We are playing the Legacy of the Dragonborn mod, which is a mod that adds a big-ass museum in Skyrim, and we're trying to fill it with everything. And I originally tried to fill it with everything. And then I got distracted by hot women and Daedric princes. And sometimes sometimes the Venn diagram was a circle, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. But how is your stream, gamer? Welcome in, everybody. Let's see, who can blame you? That's the thing, is like, they gave all the fucking, they gave all the Daedric princes tits and, like, really hot voices. So, like, when I say they, I mean the mod pack, not, like, some guy. Well,
I choose to believe that this is Todd Howard's true vision.
I think, you know, I feel like if Todd Howard saw my streams, he'd want to, like, sue the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like like, can't you sue someone for making you look shitty? Isn't that a thing?
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're not making him look shitty.
I don't know. We kind of did chant "fuck Starfield" really loud that one time.
Well, maybe he should have made a better game.
But yeah, but like that.
All right, you want to go?
But like,
If he didn't want us to say it was bad, he shouldn't have made the game bad.
you're kind of real for that. You are kind of real for that. Oh, the Iron Hand gauntlets. What do those do, by the way? Are they special?
Hold on, I need to steal his hat and shoes.
Okay.
So they are. I thought I was naked for a split second.
No, she's just
No,
she's
that's
just
the way it
rocking
is.
out.
Yeah, no, it's just 15% extra two-handed
I mean, they're
damage.
cool looking. They look like little mittens.
And normally they're just steel gauntlets with an enchantment.
Oh. They do look like little mittens, though.
They
I
do
think they're
kinda-
cute.
I mean, that's what actual armor looks like, more or less. So, yeah.
Well, we don't need to steal his clothes, so that's good.
No,
Oh, her nipples aren't popping out anymore. Yay!
Oh, good for her. That's impressive. It's cold up here.
It is cold up here. Maybe she's just like, does everyone have like a different threshold for when their nipples get cold?
I can't say that I've ever, like...
Well, hold on. Because like, I know we're like different, but like you have nipples and I have nipples.
Yes.
You follow me?
Yeah,
So like,
that is true.
So
as
like,
far as you know.
so like when you were in like PA, right? When you were in Pennsylvania in college,
Yes.
right? It's cold up there because you were in the fucking mountains, right?
In the mountains.
In the mountains.
You don't get that reference. You can't make that reference.
No. But anyway, what temperature did your nipples start to get cold at? Like in Fahrenheit?
I was gonna say,
specifically?
I didn't just like, I never went, wow, my nipples are cold, and then checked the temperature.
You don't do that?
No, do you?
Yeah, it's like 62 degrees.
What the fuck?
Fahrenheit specifically.
Well, the Celsius, you'd be dying of heat stroke.
How goes the Skyrim? Well, we're skying, and we sure are rimming.
Wait a second.
I mean, okay, it's going good. We've already found some good shit to put in our museum. Like, we found like 5 things so far. But, what are we doing? I got distracted with the nipples. Why do we know the exact temperature?
That's what I'm saying.
What?
That's weird.
For health reasons.
No. No, all you need to think is, wow, I'm cold, and then go put on a jacket. You
Well,
don't
you
need...
never get curious?
No, why? What?
Like I feel like it's like good to know like when you get hot, when you get cold, like you know what I mean?
The human body does that by default.
Well,
You have senses that tell you if you are hot or cold.
we should have warned about the unhinged streams. Listen. I think this is a perfectly normal conversation for
I
two
don't
individuals.
send help.
For 2 individuals to be having. No, but it's like, okay, you know how I have an iron deficiency?
Yes, I am
Okay,
aware.
one of the things they told me is you need to pay attention to where you get You made me bald, you motherfucker! That you have the quick save button's the bald right? I know it, like,
God.
stay with me, okay? And one of the things they asked me when I was getting tested for, like, my iron is they're like, do you get cold, like, do specific parts of your body get cold, like, sometimes? And I was like, yeah, my feet get cold all the time. I always have really cold feet.
Well, that could be a circulation thing.
Well, no, and, like, they didn't ask me about my nipples specifically, but it had me, like, thinking, you know? Like, maybe my nipples get cold because I don't have enough iron in my diet.
I don't think that's how that works.
I don't know if I still have an iron deficiency.
You should figure that out.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right.
Maybe talk to a doctor.
Oh, well, no, I am going to the doctor in November.
Oh,
But that's, but
Oh,
I don't
God.
think that's like important.
Shit.
You know, I don't think.
Hi, so to anyone listening to this stream, and if Eevee is influencing you, your health is important, and please seek medical help if you need it.
Well, okay. Listen.
Don't just ignore it and hope it'll be fine.
Listen, it's just like one of those things where it's like I didn't think it was like that serious, and then they were like, "Yeah, you need more iron and vitamin D in your diet," and I was like, "Oh, what happens if I don't do that?" And I don't remember what they said.
Anemia, probably.
Well, I don't want that.
I know
Wait,
you
is
don't.
it which one's anemia? Is that the one where your like blood doesn't work?
It's a blood clotting disorder.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. You know. I know some things about health. I know that sometimes my throat hurts if I eat hazelnuts. That's about it.
Okay, listen. I do understand the whole health insurance thing. I'm in the same boat. Take better care of yourself than I do. That's really all I'm trying to say.
We're trying out here, man. And you know, should I check it why I can breathe it from one nostril? You might be congested. That might be it. See, I know about vocal health and like taking care of your throat and like taking care of your vocal cords. I just don't know jack shit fuck all about anything else. Like that's it. You know?
So anyway.
What were you doing?
So right here, on this stack of wood,
Okay.
is Brokey's bow.
Oh, that's cool.
It does 10 stamina damage. You
Nice.
gotta kill 2 trolls to do it. I just ran in circles and lit them on fire.
I mean, it looked like it worked. Like that's probably what I would have done, but I probably would have died like 6 times.
It
before
did.
that.
It was objectively stupid. Something to keep in mind is that the trolls need to stand still for a fraction of a second before they can swing, so you can almost always dodge them as long as you keep them at arm's length.
I have something I need to say, and if I say it, you have to promise not to get mad at me.
I'm gonna be mean.
I'm hungry.
There is an entire pizza in the microwave. I asked you if you wanted pizza, and you said no.
I wasn't hungry then.
That was 15 minutes ago.
Nuh-uh, the stream started 23 minutes ago.
That was 25 minutes ago.
I just wanted you to know.
Okay.
But I wasn't hungry then, because I was still full from my Doritos.
I am going to throw you into the sun.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I had... What did I eat today?
I will quick save this way so I don't make you bald again.
Yay! No, I ate a peach. I ate the rest of my ice cream because we went and got ice cream last night and I had half of it left over. And then I had a bowl of Doritos. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I guess I'll just
I guess you will.
Yeah. Oh, this might be why I have an iron deficiency.
It could be. That might be part of it.
Uh-huh.
Alright, I better hope that she has underwear as well. Okay, we're good.
She kind of like did a little moment, but that's okay.
She's fine.
The women are usually fine. It's just the Shadow Realm dicks you have to worry about.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, no, because that's the thing is sometimes it looks like there's just like where their dick is
No,
supposed to
I've
be.
seen
you've
the
seen
void.
The shadow. Yeah.
I prefer to refer to it as a void crotch.
The void cock.
No, crotch.
The Vok.
No.
No, but like, what were we doing? What were we talking about? But yeah, like, okay. Sometimes it was fine, and then sometimes it's not. I
you
don't
little
know why.
fucker.
Oh my god! I've never seen them like up close before. Holy shit! Those are like, ugh. Shadow Realm dicks is funny to me as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. That's what it looks like. It's just a hole where their dicks are supposed to be, and they got sent to the Shadow Realm. But sometimes they just randomly come back, and like they could have given me a warning or something.
Dogma, that's what I was going for. I was looking for fantasy STD.
Huh.
Oh, holy shit.
Oh, you're about to get your ass fucking ate.
Okay, all right, hold on.
You need to reevaluate your strategy.
Yeah, no, we're gonna come back for this one.
Okay.
Are
we too small? Wait, don't we have a level up? No, we don't.
No.
We're close though. Well, kind of. Not like a ton.
Kind of.
But
The
kinda.
issue. So the issue I'm gonna run into is that they have way more magicka than I do, and they are going to hold a ward spell up. And by the time I get the ward down, they are either going to kill me or I am going to be out of magicka.
That's the problem I've had with my Vanya playthrough because I use blood magic. So by the time I'm done waiting for their ward to come down, I just kill myself.
Yeah. So I have ways around this at later levels, but right now she's just too much, so we're not gonna fight that.
Sexually transmitted curse. Holy shit. Gyata gyata? What does that mean? Like gyat? I know that one. I know what skibbity means.
Every day we stray further from God.
No, it's because I used to work at an elementary school, and one time a kid walked past me and yelled, gyat! And I was like, did I just get called a slur? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh. This is worse, actually. This is actually 10 times worse. Skibbity means something that I don't know. I just know that gyat means like butt, but I don't know what skibbity means.
Oh god, oh, the frame rate.
I don't know what happened there. I don't want to talk about it. None of those words are in the Bible.
It's true, none of them. Not a single one.
I'm trying to think what like Gen Alpha brain rot might be in the Bible. But I don't think I've read the Bible enough to like...
You read the Bible at all? Let me rephrase that. In the last 15 years.
Now ain't this...
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hi, Jessica. Welcome in gaming.
I didn't realize that was the name at first. I thought you were just being mean to someone.
I'm not just calling a random person a trash can. Is other hot women mod you tried to install with Dumber? I don't know. I know I tried to install a lot of hot women mods, and then they all broke my game, and I was upset. They all, listen, the way we described it is the MILF Factory, okay, because that's what the mods were. They were all MILF Factory mods. Apparently I'm not invited to the MILF Factory. The MILF Factory is invite only, and I did not get a ticket for
Right.
whatever fucking reason.
You're actually banned.
What did I do? Did I anger the MILFs?
You know what you did.
No, I don't! I just wanted to go see the MILFs.
Well, the MILFs don't appreciate you.
My brother-in-law is a preacher, a very gay...
Oh, God!
A very gay preacher who's getting married soon. Oh, good for him. Congratulations. Eebee reads the Lusty Argonian maid daily. Is there only one, or isn't there like 3 Lusty Argonian maids? Because I haven't read all of them, but I've read the first one.
It's a series.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You stole their son's last juice box? I do like the son.
You're gonna die.
You have like no sauce. Like no magicka.
Yeah, I know.
There were like yeah, I think
Let's
there is
see
like
what
7.
you've got.
Yeah, something like that. Goodbye. Wait, doesn't he have a weapon you
Oh god!
Woo. The maid questline mod? I need to find out. We need to get that working, because I think I tried to get it working and it didn't. There were a lot of mods I wanted to get working that I just haven't, because it's one of those things where it's like when you have so many mods, because we're at like 850 something now.
Ouch.
The collection is 800, but I've added 50 additional mods on top, and I'm planning on adding more. Is like, if something doesn't work, I kind of just give up on it. You know what I mean? Like, unless I like can very clearly pinpoint the problem, it's like one of those things where I'm like, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and I just kind of give up. I need to get back to modding this in the future. It's really fun. I use the immersive and epic mod collection, and I like it a lot. Part of me only wants to play the VR one now that I have a headset. Yeah, I have a 3D model, and my parents have a VR headset, so when I move back in with my parents, we are doing the stream still with my
Jesus.
mom.
Oh god.
Oh, fuck. But we are still doing the stream with my mom. We're just waiting until I move back in to do that, because that will just make things easier. But my parents have a VR headset, because my dad's a gamer.
Wait, I have a VR headset.
Yeah, but you never set it up.
Oh yeah, but I mean I could.
But you didn't.
Well, now we're moving, so definitely not.
Yeah, so I kind of just figured you weren't gonna do that. You know?
Well, you shouldn't have assumed.
But I asked, and you said, yeah, I'll do it later. And then 3 years passed.
That is true.
And then you did not do it later.
Well, you know, maybe later was after 4 years, but now you'll never know.
Another Half-Life playthrough, but Dadby.
Oh, God.
Okay, unironically, Dadby and I have been considering co-oping, streaming Half-Life Alyx. he's down. Like, I feel like people get nervous when I say, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a stream with my mom, we're gonna do a stream with my dad. They watch my streams. Like, they fully know what they're getting into. You know, like, they're aware. They know, you know. Yeah. What was the thing that prompted the discussion with my parents last night about mods?
You just randomly started talking about it.
I think I was talking about why I got upset the other day. Because my mom was like, why were you sad the other day? And I had to be like, because my Skyrim dick's broke.
Dick machine,
Dick
bro.
machine broke. No, it was so fucking stupid. I can never do a stream with my parents. Listen, they're here right now and judging chat heavily. To quote my dad, I asked him what he thought about it. Because I was like, yeah, I know I say some really weird, like, out-of-pocket shit on stream. And he says, I think it's funny, but sometimes I just have to forget that you're my daughter to be able to laugh at it. And I don't really know what that means, but he said I'm funny, so I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Okay. Why are you here?
David getting fucking murked.
No, I'm just kind of... I'm sorry, did I say we were playing Skyrim? I meant we're playing fucking COD Zombies. I'm just gonna make them chase me around for a while.
Listen, it's dangerous to go alone at night. Are you gonna get a follower?
No.
Oh, okay.
Behold, Todd's fabulous pathfinding.
Damn. That's crazy.
Oh, I missed.
You have to wait till your sauce regenerates. You don't got any sauce. He's lost in the sauce, but he's lost in the
Ow,
game.
God.
God damn. Listen, but that's the thing, is like, the only time I have to tell chat to like be quiet is, we haven't done one in a while, but I run a music school for VTubers. We used to do like recitals and stuff, and we haven't done one in a hot minute. We might do another one soon. But that's where like people will like all come on and like show their music, show their growth, their progress and stuff, and that's when I have to be like, chat, be normal. Please be normal this one time. I'm begging you.
Shit, I keep missing when it counts.
Well, you know how to lock on?
Yeah, but I'm not a quitter.
Oh,
Oh, God.
It's not cheap.
Fuck!
Maybe you should have locked on. You didn't lock on and you didn't lock in, and now you're dead.
Yeah?
Yes.
I blame you.
I didn't do anything.
That is all your fault.
Wait. I want to see how you died. Though past seems like a distant memory, I do not know where I am or how I got here. Ina the Armorer, I thank you for this lesson in defeat. I shall not make the same mistake twice.
You have inflicted weight of Nern.
Damn.
Where the fuck am I?
I think you're in War Maidens? Subjugated wench, but with a spelling error?
Subjugated wench.
Ah, yes, my enemy, subjugated wench.
Alright, fine, we're going back.
Well, you gotta get that wench, bro. You gotta avenge yourself. Yeah, you're in War Maidens. Why? I don't know. But, you know. I mean, you can just fast travel there, I think. My old enemy fighter spelling mistake.
Typo in the group chat. Get him!
Get his ass! Listen.
We have that in my work Slack channel, where if you make a typo, everyone bullies you.
We could call HR for that, and it'd be really funny.
No, we all. We don't do it if it's gonna.
No, I know.
genuinely upset
I'm just
somebody.
saying, like,
Yeah.
listen, some of the things you tell me about shit y'all do at work has me like, you work in a much more lax environment than I did. But I worked in an elementary school. No fun was allowed there.
We make video games. If you can't have fun, what's the point?
Oh, that's true.
Like,
I think what
the entire
really-
point
yeah.
is we make fun.
No, yeah. I think the one thing that had me like, I'm out when teaching public elementary school is when we asked if we could do like a really like fun like festival the day before spring break and have like cookies with Santa and like building like gingerbread houses.
Wait, why are you just said spring break and do you mean
winter break?
Okay, winter break.
Day before winter break.
Like hold on.
Well,
hold
like
on.
that's what we were gonna. You might remember this, but it was my
I
first
remember
year
you
teaching.
talking. You were very
Yeah.
excited about the idea.
Yeah, and it was like we were gonna do like a thing where it was like we were gonna do the winter concert with the band and the orchestra and the choir, and then we were gonna do like Santa was gonna come into school, and then we were gonna have like making gingerbread houses and cookies and like story time. It was gonna be like a whole thing, and we had it all planned out. And our administration was like, "That sounds like a great idea." And then like the week before, they were like, we need to do more state testing," and I was like, "It's fucking Christmas, you evil motherfucker!" Like, what's the point of like, huh?
Well,
Like, did you guys do that when you were in elementary school? Like, have like build gingerbread houses or like do something fun before like winter break? Because I did. Like, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I'm like,
But no,
are you fucking serious?
but
I
now
was
they
so
need to,
mad, dude.
now they need to take the state funding test and the pre-state funding test and the test that decides which state funding test you get to take.
I was so mad. I was just like, are they not? Because this was like the first year everyone came back after COVID too. So I was like, can we not enjoy anything? Oh my god.
Whoops.
But now I teach VTubers for a living. And you know, some people get shocked by this, but I have felt more respect for my position teaching VTubers than being in public school.
Do the VTubers get a pre-winter break concert? Oh god. No!
Good job.
I'm so
Maybe,
smart.
maybe. You really are. Okay, good. Did you kill the wench? Yeah, you did kill the wench.
I
though, at
did,
least.
but then I fell off a bridge.
Well, now you don't have a wench to kill. Now you have a cliff to kill. No, you still lost a subjugated wench!
Oh, no.
Fucking, your lifelong enemy, subjugated wench with spelling error!
Oh,
How
okay.
will you
that's-
ever financially recover from this?
Murder.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, you can... Wait, are we doing the family sword now? How
Yes.
could fast travel of all 5 hours?
I- There's still bandits there.
Oh. Just, like, eat them?
Yeah, but it's going to if I fast travel there, it will just drop me in the middle of them.
Hmm. I think you're being a pussy. I think you should run death head first.
I did twice.
Well, that's just a skill issue. Ew.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, the one of us has beat Dark Souls.
That's a low blow. That's fucked up. That's actually really sick and twisted of you to say.
Well, maybe you don't dish it out if you can't handle it.
Well, now I'm mad.
Yeah?
Now I'm pissed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did I do about it?
I don't know. Burn down a police precinct?
I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh, okay. Need to reach out to you about that after I finish paying for these upcoming VA classes I'm taking. Hell yeah! I have to listen. I'm yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw. That's
You?
I meant to say something
Yeehaw?
else. Yeah, me yeehaw. No, but hell yeah. I actually, speaking of VA, I'm really proud of myself. Okay, I've been talking about how I started doing VA voice acting stuff. And I auditioned. I submitted my first audition today. I've been saying I wanted to actually start auditioning for stuff forever, and I never do it. But today I did it. I did my first audition
Ow.
today, and you know what it was for? It was for a sexy Hagraven mod. I want to be a sexy Hagraven so fucking bad. And you know what? Even if I don't get to be a sexy Hagraven, I still tried. But I really hope I get it.
You'll always be my favorite sexy Hagrid.
Is that a compliment or an insult?
Yes.
Oh.
You decide.
Are you calling me old or hot?
Yep.
I'm 24.
Uh-huh.
Never had children.
Correct.
Wait, are Hagravens MILFs?
I
Can
don't know.
Hagravens have children?
I don't know.
Because, like, the Hagusi is real, you know?
I mean, yeah.
Like, we
but,
talked
like,
about that last stream.
Why?
I just did my first VO submission to. Congratulations, Equinox! I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm happy for you too, gamer. We're gonna slay. Okay, we're gonna go and that's what voice acting is. Just go and Call it a day.
It's true.
But yeah, oh yeah, we talked about that last time about the Hagusi, and you said you would not.
I would not.
Yeah, I remember that. Hags tend to eat children and have them absorb their power so they can transfer it to a new, younger body. So they are MILFs because they can have children.
No, they don't have children. They
Oh,
eat other people's
Oh,
children.
I thought it was like spiders. Don't spiders like eat their own kids?
I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that coming
Damn
up
wizard.
when we were playing Dungeons and Dragons and talking about Lolth.
I'm definitely not tap strafing in Skyrim.
David, tap strafing? Never! That would never fucking happen.
I'm trying to get her to waste all of her arrows. Nope.
So how was your day, David? As you are tap strafing.
Well, hold on.
Oh, I was gonna
God,
laugh
I don't do any damage.
I was gonna laugh really hard if you missed, I'm not gonna lie.
Here's the thing, I would have had an easier start with literally any other build, but it would have made the late game hell.
Well,
So,
you know, you gotta commit. You gotta commit. Do NPCs count ammo?
oh shit, they might not.
3 hours of fucking happy feet looking ass over here. I think you should just go up, kiss her on the mouth, and call it a day.
I don't think that's gonna work. She doesn't seem very happy.
Do you have like a sword or anything? Can you just start blasting?
I have a dagger, but she'll probably kill me in melee combat before I kill her.
Well, maybe just, you know, keep tapping. I don't fucking know.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Ilya almost became a daughter of a hag raven.
Ah,
Ooh,
shit.
that dodge though. That was good. Here, what weapons do you have? Come
I
on.
have an iron dagger and a pickaxe.
Show me back in the mind.
Channel my inner Minecraft
You
Let's
don't
Player.
wanna listen. Actually, I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind. Don't listen. Actually,
I'm not gonna listen.
listen. Wait, no. Fuck. Anyway, get her ass. Okay, now smack her. Just give her a little smack. Just give her a little. Oh, you fucking bitch. Okay, there you go.
See, she was at like no HP, and I still had to
Hit her with the
twice.
1-2. You don't even get to loot her.
I'll loot her later. There's another one trying to kill me.
I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy hole. Diggy hole. Oh shit.
Okay, you hurt significantly less.
Yeah, you can just go up and bop her. Yeah. Bop it. Pull it.
Buff acquired. Tough.
Twist it.
Toughness. I have gained toughness.
Did it have any other moves on the bop it? Bop it. Pull it. Twist it.
I have 20 additional health.
I'm trying to think what the other moves on the bop it are.
My parents never got me a bop it, mostly because I think they knew that if I ever used it, they would want to throw it out a window.
I think I had a bop it, but I don't remember anything about it. Somebody say rock and stone. No, but like, what was like your favorite like childhood game like growing up? Like Twister or like Bop. Like, what was your favorite thing?
I genuinely don't remember.
Really?
We didn't have a whole lot of that kind of stuff.
Like cock and bone. Oh, sorry.
Not to be fucking weird, but we didn't have a lot of money.
Oh. Well, yeah, but like.
So I had like a Lego set.
Well, yeah, but like what Lego set?
I do not remember.
I remember my mom wouldn't let me have Legos when I was a kid, but she let me have Mega Bloks because she was afraid I was gonna eat the Legos.
But was her fear like valid?
I mean,
Be honest.
yeah, but like she didn't know that. What?
I forgot about the wench in here. We're gonna address that in a second.
Well, like yeah, I ate dirt, but my mom didn't know I was a dirt
did you need
eater.
something?
Like,
Didn't
she
you
didn't know
do
that.
it while playing little like soccer?
Yeah, I sat on the grass and I ate dirt.
How'd she not notice?
Well, maybe she did, but she never brought it up. Like she never like pulled
you
me
here to
aside
save
and was
me?
like, "Eebee, stop eating dirt."
Uh,
Or at least if she did, I don't remember. But it was yummy.
Please get me home.
I don't. You had
As you wish.
pica.
Just don't forget about me.
You don't gotta say it like that, man.
I do.
Listen.
I do gotta say it like
listen,
that.
Listen. Catch bugs, put them in a box, and watch them fight. That's actually, you know what? Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the one thing. Okay, did I ever? Okay, wait. I'm trying to think of how I can tell this story without doxing somebody. Because Did y'all have American... Okay. Did any of you guys have American Girl dolls growing up? Because those shits were like $100. I remember one time I went to a birthday party and like there was this girl there, or the girl that it was her birthday, and she got fucking 2 American Girl dolls for her birthday. That was like $200, and it wasn't even from her parents. Yeah, the ones with the fucked up teeth. But like it wasn't even like her What? They got fucked up teeth.
Wasn't there someone that like we saw something where they're like, you have American Girl doll teeth or something?
We did witness someone tell another person that they had American Girl doll teeth. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up an American Girl.
Who the fuck are you?
It's hired thug, idiot. Like.
Who hired you? Who did I piss off?
I don't know. You are going around just like blasting. Well, read the contract, then you'll know.
Who the fuck is Ernie? Someone get on the Skyrim wiki and tell me who this is. I genuinely don't know.
What about Fire D and Water D and Earth D?
Yeah, the Avatar D.
Somebody help.
Yeah. No, but like, okay. She had that, and like both those dolls were like,
oh god,
oh my god, how many people did you piss off?
I mean, these are.
How many people did you piss on?
It's a group of 3. It's always a group of 3. And also, I mean,
damn,
like,
that's crazy.
listen.
For the never mind.
Is a Norn made at the Blue Palace? Yeah, okay, I understand what happened now.
Yeah, you did do that. You did do that.
I did steal her candlestick.
I
didn't think it was worth sending thugs after me for. Jesus.
I mean, listen,
Talos.
Maybe it was like sentimental. No? Like maybe that candlestick was her first love. Maybe that candlestick saved her father from dying.
What?
I don't know. Fuck. No, but like, I will link one as a unique follower. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you, Morgan. We always need more sexy hag ravens.
It's the principle of it. You're right. At the fucking, I moved it next door.
Oh.
If she works and lives in the Blue Palace, it is down the road.
Maybe she didn't want it there. You can say that. Did you ask her if she wanted it in the museum? Hmm?
You won't leave here alive.
What is up? What is up with these hitboxes?
You are not having a good time today. They are getting your ass in the club tonight.
This is the one thing that I like, that because when I tried this on my own computer, I was having the same issue. The melee hitboxes are all kinds of weird now.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I think it has to do with one of the animation mods, but it just doesn't. It don't connect right.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a melee. Well, I had that problem with Jasper actually. It took me a long time. Like you get used to it after a while, but it did fuck with me for a little bit.
With the dagger, I need to be standing inside someone to hit them.
No, okay. Well, I think it's like meant to be like the range of the weapon, right? So like you're not. Do you have to be literally in them?
Yes.
Oh. Oh.
You ready to die today, huh?
Are you ready to die today?
That's it. That's all you've got.
Like, okay,
What about tomorrow?
I'm gonna cheese this a little as just to make my point here. So if I die here, I am going to reload it. But like,
It's okay. I don't.
Okay.
I reload all the time. It gets ass. Fuck him up. Smack him. Smack him.
okay,
See, you're not
that
in him.
hits.
You're not in him. You're just kissing him.
I need to be like right
Yeah,
on
you
top
need to be
of it.
right next to him because it's a tiny, teeny little dagger.
It is
You can't
very
just go,
annoying.
David, you can't just go right inside him, man. You gotta get to like first or second base first.
Also this.
Well, yeah, because you're like not crouching down. He's crouching down, so you gotta crouch.
Yeah, so there's this thing called realism versus fun. This is not fun.
Realistic.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
See,
we did
that
it.
wasn't that hard. You just had to be confident, and it worked out.
I have no confidence.
Oh, steel Nordic gauntlets. We need those.
You do.
So anything with a little blue plus sign, we need. Okay.
I think
That's what we need. That's
Cole
the
is
sauce.
right. I need a short sword.
You do. You had no health and had to be.
Okay,
stabbed 6 times to kill
to
him.
be fair, he was wearing heavy armor. I will give it that.
He
was wearing heavy armor.
heavy armor, and you.
I have no one-handed perks,
What?
so like it's fine.
What are you wearing? Slay.
Where did my fucking amulet go? Also,
I'm
I forgot
sorry,
she
I
was
wasn't
there.
ready for the fucking. The way they just. I was not ready for the nearly naked woman running up next to you.
Where the fuck is my circlet? Oh, it's probably on the...
Didn't they steal your circlet one time? Because that was funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. You were pissed.
Give me my
Are you
circlet
gonna?
back.
Are you gonna help the wench? Like, did
Well,
you say?
yeah,
you're
she's
helping?
following me already.
Oh, okay. Are
Yeah.
you gonna like give her clothes?
Well, if I can find any.
Well, just give her like some armor.
There we go, tavern clothes.
There you go.
She only accepts wench outfits.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Girl, did you just jump?
I think she.
Need something?
Young lady. Wait, no. Let me voice
Did
it. I want to be.
you
I
need
want to
something?
be disgusting.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. You shouldn't be naked. I have a wench outfit you could wear. Why are her tits? Wait, hold on. Can we look? Okay. I don't want to. I think body shaming is bad. But can we look at her waist compared to her boobs?
I'd better get going.
Well, not like that. But
What?
like,
That's what you
Don't
want.
even think about
I-
what can I do for you?
is her back okay?
Did
No.
you need?
Like,
Oh,
She
that's
also
so
doesn't
sweet
have
of you.
internal organs.
Thanks.
one
apparently.
of her boobs is the side of my head.
There we go. Come on, Orion. Don't let Evie be mean to you.
Well, I'm concerned.
Ignore her.
I think the boobs might be boobing too boobily.
Too boobily, you
Yeah,
say.
I listen. As
You think that a wench of Skyrim would ever breast too boobily?
listen, as a licensed boob haver,
It's not bottled, but she has the back of a 14th century English longbowman.
Oh my god. No, but like, as a certified licensed boob wielder,
Oh yeah, where's your license?
wouldn't you like to know?
I
would.
Listen, if you're gonna talk about it, I'd like to see some
Well,
proof.
maybe I don't have it on me. It's in my other wallet.
Okay, well, lucky for you, we live here, so you can go grab your other wallet.
Now let me grab my other wallet and get my license of breast having.
Well, go on.
It's a Chili's gift card.
Is this a bribe?
No, that's the license.
Oh,
Are you
no.
gonna take it?
No.
Why?
It's a fake.
No.
You've counterfeited this boob
No,
license.
I'm just from out of state.
This is a counterfeit. You're under arrest
No.
for illegal possession of breasts.
No. I will never financially recover from this.
You've been saying that a lot recently. I feel like you were never going to financially
it
recover
started
at all.
as a
I hope
vocal
you'll
stim,
find
and
it
now I
seeking
just
proper
say it to
order.
like random
You tried
inconveniences
mercenary
and
work?
confuse everyone.
It might suit you. You found it.
Hi, I
Thank
have
you.
your sword.
Here, my father had a
Here's your
favorite
sword.
sword
Thanks
and
for
shield.
teaching me. I'm gonna go break into your house and
Teach it
steal
to
some
you.
shit real quick now that we're friends. Okay, bye.
It's not breaking and entering if he lets you enter. You're
That's
not
house
even
great,
doing
man.
any breaking. Like the two words, you know? They go together.
Oh, wait. It is still locked. Okay.
Okay, well maybe we have to do a little breaking.
We'll do a
and
little
entering.
breaking, but we'll do it once we don't have the wench.
What are we gonna do with the wench?
We need to drop her off at an
Greybeards have summoned the
establishment that
Dragonborn
is
to
wench
hire
friendly.
Osgard. Such a
I
thief
think
does-
the tavern here is wench friendly. Where does one go to get a boob license asking for a friend? Chili's.
Yeah, apparently the answer is Chili's. You order a triple dipper and they just give you one.
Yeah, it comes with it. Like a promotion. Kitty! Oh no, it's zooming in on her I just want to look at the I don't think that's the cat.
My favorite.
What are you doing here?
Good to
It's
see
your
you.
favorite drinking
All right,
buddy.
no, that's right.
Yeah.
I want to go to Chili's. Can we go to Chili's tomorrow?
Maybe.
I want to go to Chili's.
We have plans with friends, so if friends want to go to Chili's.
Welcome. Let me know if you want anything.
I'll make
Think I got
them
a clean
go
mugger.
to Chili's.
What can I do for you?
Could you help this woman? She
You've
was
done
captured
well.
by the bandits.
Oh god, you got 800 gold. Goddamn.
That's right, the
Thanks
wenches
a
got
lot.
money.
You have 4 more wenches to rescue.
That's so many wenches. I'll do it later.
I think you can handle it.
No, that's too many wenches.
No, I think you can do it.
Too many wenches.
I believe in you. What do you have against the wenches?
I have nothing against the wenches. I just don't think I can handle that many wenches.
All at once?
Yeah,
Few seconds from
it's too many.
I'm sorry.
Too many wenches.
You know, I can't relate actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, because you don't have any wenches. This isn't a problem you have.
I'm gonna give you a lobotomy in your sleep.
Bold of you to assume I haven't gotten one already.
I think, you know, we gotta find out. We gotta get in there and figure that out. Wait, there's a thing. Yeah.
I also stole the key
Alright.
to his house in case I ever need to get back in here.
Oh, you never know. Can you imagine there's just one guy in Skyrim that just has everybody's house keys on a big ring?
I just want to acknowledge, I know this is probably a mod conflict. I love how this chalice is just on the ground.
Whoops. Whoops. What? Okay, aren't some of the wenches imposters? What?
Imposter wenches?
What? Wait, what do you mean imposter? Like fucking Among Us? I need to call an emergency meeting with my wenches.
Self-report.
I'm calling my hoes to a meeting.
It's a self-report. Eevee's the fake wench.
I'm not a wench.
Yeah, it's a likely story.
I'm the wench haver. You know how many wenches I have?
That's how many wenches Jasper has. That's not you.
He's an extension of me. He's a part of me.
Doubt.
I made him.
Yeah,
Wait.
and?
Can I start referring all my fucking OCs as just that, actually?
No.
Why?
Did we do Amron's Amulet of RK already?
I have no fucking idea. I'm gonna be honest, I'm watching you play the game. I'm not comprehending what's going on. I've kind of just been yapping while you do everything.
No issue.
Well, it's like, you're here to be good at game. I'm here... Yeah.
Why are you here? This is my stream now.
No, well, okay, well, listen, we need... Ooh! Okay. Books! Books! No, you have to look at all the books. You have to
I
look
know,
at all the
but-
books. Oh, kiss him on the mouth.
No, what?
Then he won't turn you in.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, it is.
I think that just means... I think he'll just also turn me in for
No,
assault.
it worked for me. When the guards came... Never mind.
Hey, wake the fuck
Ah,
up.
good to
Good
see you.
morning. Maybe not
I
wake the
understand.
fuck up. Maybe go to bed, actually.
I'm just gonna make sure that I can't accidentally hit that.
Are you gonna cope with... Wait, what is he... Do you need a quest from him?
Yeah, he's supposed to ask me
Yep.
his Amulet of RK, but he's
I'm
not,
all
but it's
ears.
fine. I don't need it. I just wanted the extra gold. We'll just go down and get the ring.
The wench poster outside Solitude? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've done this quest. Doggy!
Oh, wait, we already did
Yeah,
this.
we did
That's
do
right.
this.
We
Okay,
did do
yeah,
this.
we did. I remember. Because I asked
I
if we
just
could
forgot
take
the Oblivion Dagger.
No, I asked if we could take the dog, and you said no, and then I got angry.
Yeah, I'm not taking the dog still.
Why?
Because companions in this game are annoying.
But it's a dog, David.
Yeah, but it's gonna get in the way, and it's gonna never shut up.
It's a dog!
Yeah, and?
I think you're a bad person.
You don't even like dogs.
Yeah, but like if it's a video game dog. Kitty.
Bye, friend.
I just think it's fucked up.
Okay,
that
we're-
You wouldn't take the dog. I took the dog in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, but the dog in Baldur's
I
Gate
hope
doesn't
you're
get in the
finding
way.
the city in proper order, Thane.
Well,
Scratch just exists.
I think you're being a hater.
I
to the
am.
dog.
Good to see
I
you
am,
again.
that's true. The animation for the cats are weird because they're skeevers.
Yeah, the cats are just skeevers. Scrunkly little boys. Are we just
Okay.
gonna stand outside and
I
be
need
casual?
steel. I need steel ingots, so yes, we're waiting outside of War Maidens.
Is it casual now? Do you want
How's it
romance,
going?
Adrian?
No, I'm good.
Have you done her romance?
No.
I think you should. I really think you should.
I'm not going to.
I really think
I know
you
that
should.
she just yells to the
finest
to the
weapons
town
and
just,
armor.
my husband has erectile dysfunction and
Yeah.
is gay.
Yeah! You don't have an option to, like... You can sleep with her, but you can't sleep with her husband, which is a missed opportunity.
Good
Well,
luck.
because he has erectile dysfunction.
What about the back door?
Well, I mean, now you're just thinking of yourself.
Bitches love getting pegged.
Yeah? Well, maybe he doesn't.
Only one way to find out.
Well, anyway. But yes, Cola is exact. The Dragonborn is strictly canonically a bottom.
Listen. Well, no, you can get with other dudes in the mod. You can get with Farkas and Vilkas, and I don't know if there's more than that, but I know you can get with Farkas and Vilkas. Because one time I tried to have sex with Farkas, and then I phased into a table.
Why? That's not... What kind of sex are you having? Damn.
I don't know how to do it.
You don't know how to do it?
No.
Eebee
I tried
games.
following a tutorial, and then one time I ended up inside a bookshelf.
Yeah, you know what? That checks out.
Yeah. It was a nice bookshelf, though.
Yeah, did
It
you
wasn't
enjoy your
all-
did you enjoy your time in the bookshelf?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was not very spacious because I was, you know, in the bookshelf. I got my dick sucked, so that was pretty cool.
Worth.
Yeah.
I need more leather strips. Okay, it's fine.
Oh, now you're over
I am cucumbered.
How will
okay.
you ever recover from
This
Well,
chest.
no, really, you just have to dump some shit.
I will recover through this chest.
Yeah. We
Yep.
have a lot of stuff. You said we wouldn't get a lot, but I think we got a good amount of shit.
We got an okay amount of shit. Some of this I'm just planning on selling or disenchanting.
Yawn.
Now, if you start yawning, then I'm gonna start yawning, and then we're gonna have a problem.
No, I have to go to fast food establishment and get a Diet Coke. Because I have to teach a late night lesson tonight. And normally, like, I specifically plan my late night lessons for after stream. Because usually after I stream, I'm fucking wired. I don't know what it is, but something about... Because this happened the last time we did this stream, too. I got really sleepy, and I didn't know why. And now I'm sleepy again. Am I Pavloving myself to get sleepy whenever you play Skyrim?
Maybe, I don't know. But we did just hit 205 relics, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go hang up a painting, that'll be 206, and then we're gonna go into the safe house and do inventory management.
So yeah, I need to go to a fast food establishment and buy a large Diet Coke. So I can stay
Oh, you're
awake.
here.
Oh, hi,
I have some
Oh my
exciting
God.
news. And donated a relic from their personal collection. You
Wow.
can decide if you want to use it.
Oh
or
boy,
use
the
it right
cleaver of Saint Flems.
You're my cleaver of Saint Four.
Why would you say that to me?
I don't know. I don't know what that means, actually.
Why would you call me Flem? That's fucked up.
That is kind of fucked, actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
It will happen again.
I know.
Yeah. Good time?
No.
Oh.
Ah. Okay, alright.
It's stretch. Ah!
Yeah?
Sorry, that's the noise I make when I stretch.
I don't... Why?
Because I gotta make sure I'm all stretched. And the way that you make sure you're stretched is you scream.
Okay.
It's part of the process. It's how I crack my back.
Sure.
Yeah. It helps. If I start yelling, then it like gives me like the extra push I need, you know?
Well, Equinox is vouching for you, so I guess it's true.
Yeah. Oh, I need to take my glasses off. Can you press F2, David? No more
Ha!
vision.
You can't see,
Now you
idiot.
have to take your glasses off,
Oh,
too.
that's not happening.
Why?
I am legally blind.
Well, whose fault is that?
I mean, genetics.
I think you should...
Yeah, no, if I take these off, I can't see shit.
Isn't it like a felony if you get pulled over and
If-
you don't have your glasses?
If I drive and I'm not wearing glasses, I am going to jail.
Well, that's a really easy way to get into jail.
Why would I want that?
There's something I want to say back here.
I know what you're thinking. No.
You don't want your free surgery?
Uh,
That's what. Wait, what'd you think I was thinking?
something along those lines.
You don't want your free transgender surgery
I-
as an illegal alien?
I'm not an illegal alien.
Well, not in this country. Maybe
Well,
another one.
What other country is that supposedly happening?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't think any of them.
I don't know. Listen, I know that shit was funny as fuck. I'm
It was
sorry.
very funny.
That shit was crazy. I don't want to say anything more because I don't like giving my opinion on things because it stresses me out.
I love giving my opinions on things, just not politics.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I can give my opinions on,
Give your opinion on this guy.
Need something?
he's okay.
He looks like Orc Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah, actually, now that you say it, he does. Orc Gulp.
Orc Gult?
Yeah, Orc Geralt. Orc Gulp.
Yeah, okay.
But that works, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it works, it works.
Alright, I could wait for the sorting. I'm just gonna go place the replica of Bulgriff's sword by hand. I know where it is, it's fine.
I don't know where anything is in the museum. Anytime I have to find something specific, I just wander around for like 30 minutes.
At least I think I know where it is. There
There
it
it
is.
is, yeah.
And there's
Cool.
Amarin's family sword.
Cuba.
And also, is Froaky's bow back here? I did put Froaky's bow, right?
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, you did.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it should be here.
But yeah, Golden Cup. Alright, anyway.
Golden Cup.
I'm gonna go sell some things, and then we're going back to Whiterun because we need to go get the Poacher's Axe, the Transmute Spell Tome, and then I might clear Silent Hills again to see if any new weapons have spawned, but it also hasn't been that long,
Yeah,
so probably not.
It's only been like a day, hasn't it?
Something like that,
maybe
I don't
two.
know. And Aaron just hired me, and then I showed up with just a fucking wagon full of bullshit and was like,
And
put
then you
this up.
broke into his house.
Or no, sorry, I meant Arian. I did break into Aaron's house.
You did break into his house. With no remorse, might I add.
Listen, I'd do it again.
Okay. Show that to the judge.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Listen, Skyrim has no judicial system, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just the
actually,
Jarl.
Yeah, you're
Your
right.
madness, and your madness is the
Maybe if you
method.
just kiss the Jarl in the mouth, you'll be fine.
I mean, if we're in solitude, sure.
That can work globally if you're not a coward.
Well, Jarl Idgrod is where I draw the line, alright? Ravencrone, come on.
You don't fuck with gilfs.
If the...
Jetmir! That's fucking Jetmir.
No, that's Zemi.
But it looks like Jetmir.
It does kind of look like Jetmir.
It's
That would
Jetmir.
be out
It's
of-
Jetmir coded. It's Jetmir coded.
It's Jetmir coded?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to go talk to the...
Tuxedo
We need to go talk to the blacksmith. Oh, I know
Another
that.
cat.
Gourmet is hiding out
I love the
somewhere.
cats. I don't care if the animations are just
fellow who
skeevers.
wrote
I
the
fucking love them.
Fancy
Ah.
roll.
I'm just glad that they gave them their own
Take a look.
soundscape instead of them doing that weird heavy breathing thing skeevers do. Because you can you imagine like,
don't
oh,
they
it's
just,
so
like-
cute and just...
Should we do ASMR?
You're welcome, everyone wearing headphones. I hope you enjoyed that.
I think we should do ASMR. But we could do like really uncomfortable ASMR. Because like we're a couple, right? So like we could do like your parents are fighting in the kitchen while you're watching upstairs ASMR.
Return anytime you need arms
Or we could do like
my force.
signing the divorce papers ASMR.
See, I went
Or, like-
stupider. I'm just like watching movies with your two most annoying friends, and I'm just imagining like, hey, are you gonna finish your milk duds?
Bits and pieces. I'm sure you'll find what you
See-
need here.
I'm trying to think what else we could do.
Huh.
Hmm.
Take a look.
You get ASMR of your parents being disappointed.
I can call my parents and get that for free.
Well, it wouldn't be for us.
What the fuck?
Oh, that's the Dick Bigger potion.
I don't wonder it's so valuable. Here you go.
You don't want the Dick Bigger potion?
No.
Why?
I feel like I shouldn't need to explain myself on this one.
Why?
First of all, I don't think this character has a dick.
Oh.
This lady's chest is weirdly square. I wasn't gonna say anything, but now since you bring it up, yeah.
The Minecraft titties.
Back to bits and pieces anytime.
What are your thoughts on the Minecraft movie, David?
Listen, I strictly expect it to be awful, and if it's at all good, I'm gonna be disappointed. I am going
Apparently
to see
there's
it
musical
hope
numbers in it.
good. I am going to watch it hoping it is bad.
Yeah?
I think it will be better. I'm going to watch this in the same vein that I watched Sharknado.
Okay.
I am not expecting a good movie, but I
It's
am
a good
expecting a good
experience.
time.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know what I'm still mad about? Oh, he's drinking water, fuck. You know what I'm still mad about?
What?
Kung Fu Panda 4.
I don't think it was that bad. It
I
wasn't as
thought
good
it was.
as the other ones.
They ruined all the lore. Okay, hear me out, Chad.
You know,
So,
listen, no, it was the only reason it was worse than Kung Fu Panda 3 is because it didn't play "I'm So Sorry" in the background every time
yeah,
the villain
that
showed
was really weird. That was really weird how they just took a motif from an Imagine Dragons song and played it like 32 times. But besides that, okay, usually sequels to popular movies are not good, right? Like Cinderella 2 was not the pinnacle of filmmaking.
I disagree.
No, that was Cinderella 3.
Oh, you're right.
Cinderella
Never mind,
3
I'm sorry.
is fucking goated. Everyone should watch Cinderella 3.
Cinderella 3 direct to DVD.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a masterpiece. But anyway.
We should watch some direct-to-DVD sequels at some point.
Oh, we should. Remember when we started watching the Pocahontas direct-to-DVD
Oh,
sequel and we had to stop?
It was all of the problematic tropes that the first Pocahontas had.
They just cranked that
cranked
shit
up to
Like
11.
we literally had to turn it off. We're like, this is just awful.
Like, I feel
Like,
bad for watching this.
This is not good. No, but Kung Fu Panda 2. Kung Fu Panda 2 was really, really good, actually. Kung Fu Panda 3 was a fucking masterpiece.
Pretty
And
good.
then they built up all this lore, and then they retconned it in Kung Fu Panda 4 for fucking Aquafina.
I think the real issue is, like, the Furious 5 just aren't there.
Yeah, that was like half the whole bit.
Half of the cast of the movie, more than half the cast of the previous movies, just
They
is
couldn't
not
get
in
the
the
voice
movie.
actors. No, but
I wonder how much it costs to hire Jackie Chan to do, like, 4 lines.
well, apparently too much.
Because, like, Monkey doesn't talk much. It couldn't have been that much.
No. Aladdin 3 is the best. I'll have to check it out.
I have not seen Aladdin 3.
You know what I still think about sometimes?
But
Well, I guess this is seasonal, because 9/11 just happened.
why? Hold on. You cannot start a thought like that.
Well, no, it's related. Because I was going to talk about Cars 2.
Oh, God.
I'm bald again!
It's a habit. It will happen again.
Stop making me bald! No, but like, okay. So Cars 2, I think, the stat may have changed, but Cars 2 has the highest confirmed kill count of any Disney movie. Okay?
It is true.
And the reason for that is,
Now
do
wait,
y'all
this
know
is
the plot of Cars 2? Okay, so fucking Cars 2, right? Basically, the plot is Lightning McQueen comes home from, like, the fucking NASCAR, and is like, it's time to enjoy some time with my car wife, hee hee. And then it's
And
like...
his car best friend,
and
who
his car
who
best
is
friend.
too good for him.
It was too good for him. There's a little bit of, you know, some beef there,
ready
but
to
that's
die
okay.
today?
Well, it's not okay. Anyway. And he goes home to the fucking car wife, and then he watches the TV, and they're like, oh, we're doing this international race thing, and Lightning McQueen won't be there because he's a beta male cuck. And Lightning McQueen's like, I'm not a beta male cuck. Get in, Mater, we're going. And then his car wife is like really horny for this Italian guy for some reason, but that's like unrelated. But he gets there, and the first race is in like Tokyo, I think, and they fucking... Okay, actually, no, I'm missing some stuff. The movie opens with a James Bond type action sequence.
Yeah, where they're like doing like reconnaissance of like an oil manufacturing like platform.
Yeah, and then I think there's like 4 cars that die there, right? But then when they get to but that's the thing is like the spy is investigating car terrorists, okay? Because they're like doing they have this oil that they make that will make cars blow up. And so at one point they're like torturing this guy, and they put the oil in his thing, and then he just fucking dies. So we watch a man get essentially like tortured to death in Cars 2. That's how the movie starts. And then we go back to Radiator Springs. But anyway, they go to the race in Tokyo, right? And then, like, a bunch of people just start blowing up and fucking dying. And they keep going to all these races, and then there's all these just unexplained terrorist attacks on the cars. And then Mater saves the day and from the terrorist, and then the Queen of England is there, and that's all I remember.
It is essentially Mission Impossible, but as a Cars movie.
Yeah, but we watched several cars die.
What
So,
was that?
I mean, I don't know if it was as much as Mulan, but it might be the highest kill count in a Pixar
It
movie.
is Pixar movie, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it's kind of hard to beat the Huns.
I didn't want to call you out because like Disney is your whole thing, but like yeah.
No, I can be wrong sometimes. It's okay. I'm actually wrong most times.
At least
if we're
you're pretty.
being Thanks. Yay. I'm pretty. Pretty stupid.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, but like,
Magic is this.
I don't know.
Gross.
I feel like out of all, like, I
That's
just
the
don't
best you
understand
can
why
do.
they went with that angle. Because then there was a scene of them,
I'll
like,
show you what a real
like
orc
chasing
is.
down a car
I
at an
cannot best
airport,
you.
and then there was the car TSA. Me and my dad had a really long conversation about this, because if there's a car TSA, what does that imply? right? If there's because the TSA was formed after 9/11, right? So if there's a car TSA,
No
that
one
means that
bests
there's a
an
car
orc.
Twin Towers, and that means there was a car 9/11. But the thing is in the movie, planes exist. So is there really no, like, is there not a Bin Laden car? Is Bin Laden a plane in the Cars universe? But then what about, how does he go into hiding then? What about Saddam Hussein? How does Saddam Hussein fit in the hiding spot if he's a plane?
Well, no, it's Sedan Hussein.
Shut the fuck up! No, but like...
No, but also, I mean, like, if you think about it, that does mean that if the planes can be, like, hijacked and controlled by cars, that means that they can just be mind controlled by anyone who manages to get into the cockpit.
Well, no, and there was also a car pope.
There was a car pump,
Which
which
means
means there
there's-
was a Cars Crusade.
Yeah! That's fucked up!
It is fucked up. Why would Cars Jesus let that happen?
Yeah. But anyway.
Anyway, here's the spell tome for transmute mineral ore.
Yippee! But yeah, I think about Cars 2 sometimes. Because Cars 3 was actually pretty good, but like, what the fuck were they on? The crucifixion. Yeah, so that means there was a car Jesus that got fucking crucified by the car Pharisees, and then there was the car-surrection, if you will.
I'm gonna bring up something that might be a little controversial.
What?
How does the assassination of Car JFK work? Because he was in a car when that happened.
Well, maybe he was the car.
Is that how
Right.
that works?
Well, okay, let's think this through, right?
Okay.
So like it was oh man. So like it was JFK, his wife, and like some other guy in the car, right?
Was it his brother?
I don't know. Maybe it was the Secret Service. I haven't researched the assassination of JFK extensively.
Why not? That's what we keep you around for.
Well, because I'd rather talk about car 9/11 instead. But like, okay, flatbed semi-truck for the parade. No, that would make sense.
Yeah,
actually.
okay, all right, hold on,
Yeah,
you're
they're all
onto
on a
something.
truck. Yeah.
Oh,
That
no.
actually, that. Oh. So we making the wine. It was a Texas.
Oh, was it a
senator?
Texas senator? Okay.
Ah.
That would make sense, actually, yeah.
Like, but then. Well, no, the cars can have guns. That was established in Cars 2, right? Because the one car, his headlight turns into a gun. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but, like, do you need to have the gun? That's another question, is, like, does the gun need to be installed as part of your body, or, like...
I'm gonna shove a pistol up my ass.
Don't...
Like, is that what happens if they want a gun?
Okay, oh, God, okay, I'm gonna need to do it like this, because the hitboxes are all fucked.
Cars Pope has a Pope mobile. Slavery. That's not good.
Cars JFK was riding in a car when he got turned into pizza sauce.
Wait, yeah, that's kind of fucked up though. Actually, yeah. Why would wait. The cars have? Oh, that's bad. That's not good. What the fuck? Why would cars do this?
I don't know.
Why would Lightning McQueen kill John F. Kennedy?
Why would he do that?
That's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
Lightning McQueen, what the fuck? If you're just joining the stream now, hi. Lightning McQueen killed John F.
I feel like I should be playing your...
Wait, what?
I feel like I should be playing your cover of, what was the Minecraft song you covered?
I covered the Minecraft version of Viva La Vida.
Yeah, I feel like I should be playing that in the background while I do
Swimming in
this.
the mine. This is why we don't get too deep into children's movies. Normally, I don't think like this, but when Cars 2 doesn't have a terrorism subplot. Cars 2 has a terrorism main plot, okay? So, like,
Here's another question
what's up with that?
Here's another question I just thought of, though.
What?
So, like, planes are sentient, boats are sentient, cars
Yeah.
are sentient, so, like, most modes of transportation...
How does that feel to have people inside of you?
Well, no, that's not where I'm going with this.
Oh.
What? Are the space shuttles sentient?
Oh.
What about the satellites?
What about the Challenger explosion?
Yeah?
Well, yeah.
I wasn't
'cause-
gonna go directly there. I was just gonna say, like, do they create sentient space shuttles?
I mean, I imagine so, if we're being on theme. Like, is there any transportation that's not, like, sentient in cars?
That's what I'm saying, is I feel like all of
I
them
think
are.
they're all
Like, the
sentient.
trains are.
Yeah. Like, space shuttles just... Okay, I didn't read the bottom line. I thought that said space shuttles just fuck. And I was like, oh, well, good for them, I guess.
Damn, space shuttles get it.
Like, I can't believe I'm getting cucked by a space shuttle.
I can.
Oh.
They're always shaped like giant
Well, like,
dicks.
that's the thing, is, like, why, like, I just don't understand why Disney was like, hey, let's open this Pandora's box of implying a Cars Crusade and a Car 9/11 happen. Like, why did no one stop that?
If they just didn't put the Pope Mobile in that one scene, then, like, we wouldn't have...
If they didn't put TSA in the one scene.
Yeah.
If they just had it, they were, like, running through an airport and they didn't have the fucking metal scanners. Like, why did we... I feel like maybe it was, like, one of those things that was thrown in as, like, a joke for the parents, but I don't see how 9/11 is a joke for the parents. What?
Don't worry about it.
Why are you laughing?
'Cause it's funny.
Oh. Okay.
They also confirmed that, like, the cars eat food.
Did Chernobyl happen in the Cars universe?
Absolutely. 100%.
I feel like we need to stop this conversation.
No, I feel like we need to go deeper.
Who
Who was the lead writer for Cars 2?
Do you want
think...
me to look this up while you're mining?
Yes.
Okay, let me look it up. I have my... Oh, there's baby deer at my parents' house. Look, there's baby deer.
Aw.
My mom just sent me a picture of the deer and just said, look at all the babies.
Yeah, the Hindenburg was sentient too, presumably.
What's the Hindenburg?
It is a big zeppelin that...
What's a zeppelin?
Okay, so imagine a blimp.
Okay.
Okay, now imagine it a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a zeppelin. And there was a point in time where everyone was like, "Ooh, get on the fancy zeppelin to go from," I think it was like New York to Chicago.
Okay,
it wasn't like super far, and it took like 4 days.
Okay. I'm opening the Cars 2 Wikipedia.
Okay.
Okay, this was written by 3 people.
How did three people agree on this?
John Lasseter, Brad Lewis, and Dan Fogelman. Why
Dan
did no one
Fogelman
stop
sounds
them?
familiar.
What was he? Well, let me look at his Wikipedia page. He wrote Tangled, Crazy Stupid Love, This Is Us, and something about baseball.
What is on there about baseball?
He did a thing about baseball.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay, can I talk about some? Okay.
I was thinking of Jared Fogle, the subway guy,
that's the
maybe.
pedophile dude.
I know.
Yeah, that's not Cash. Jared Fogle, the subway pedophile, did not write Cars 2.
Maybe he should have.
Just to specify that. Cars, remember when we go? Like, okay. Do you ever think that, like, I don't know, like, can you imagine being, like, the subway people and that news breaks? Like, I feel like maybe we should do more background checks on people.
I mean, I think he was doing the shitty things while being the subway master.
Yeah, no, it was this being the subway guy that enabled him to do the shitty things.
Yeah,
I watched a YouTube video about it.
So
People
background
knew.
checks wouldn't have helped.
That's true, I guess. Did Jared Fogle exist in the subway universe? Well, I mean, like, I imagine they retconned him after the controversy. You know. Well, it's not a controversy. It's actually several felonies.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not controversial. It's crime.
But, like, that's the thing, though, is, like, I don't know. Like, after that happened, you never saw, like, fast food restaurants have, like, spokespeople or anything anymore. And it's like, yeah, well, that's probably why.
I was seeing something about how they were slowly phasing out Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, well, I think it was because, do you remember, like, in 2012, the clown thing?
Yeah.
Like, the rumors, like, the clowns going around killing people?
Yeah, so I actually had, I was working at an ice cream store at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a manager who, you know who I'm talking about.
Is it the one that annoys me?
We'll name them Shitney.
Oh, yeah, Shitney.
Yeah. She wouldn't let me take the trash out alone for like 3 months because she was convinced that I would get stabbed by an angry clown.
This is also the woman that tried to sell you a dildo when you were 15.
No, she tried to sell you a dildo when you were 15.
Yeah, but she tried to do it through you.
No, but she tried to pretend that I didn't know what was happening as she was selling them to all of my coworkers.
Yeah, but she asked you if I wanted one.
Well,
and I was
no,
like
she just
15.
asked. Leave me alone, Lydia. Fuck off.
It's an honor to serve.
Most pedophiles don't let their crime. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that was weird. Like, I didn't realize how weird that was, because at the time I was just like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But, like, now I'm 24, because we were, like, what, 15 when that happened? Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
And now I'm 24, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, that never should have been a discussion. But,
No, and I feel like maybe someone should have, like, called her out on that, but no one did. I mean, my mom tried to.
Listen, that entire thing, Here's the thing: is that happened, but then the thing with her cousin happened
Wait,
at
what
one
was
of
the
the
thing
parties.
with her cousin?
Oh God. Okay. I forgot to talk to Proventus.
Oh my God! Wait, can we? Okay, we can use fake names, but I think I know what you're talking about. Can you tell chat our stupid family drama about people they will never meet in their lives? Well, it's not even really family drama. Like, we're not related to her.
Yeah.
Well, she's related to her cousin.
Well, yeah, she is.
Divine's
That
blessing.
is how that works.
May the ground you walk quake as you pass.
Hold on.
You need to seduce him?
No.
Oh. Then why are we
Excellent.
here?
You've
need a
done us a
bounty.
great service. Here is your reward.
I need a lot of money
Enjoy
soon,
your visit.
all right?
Oh, that's right. But yeah, the thing with her cousin, I think I know what you're talking about. Because, okay, the reason she was trying to sell us dildos is because she was part of a... Okay, you know how I've gone on several off-tangent rants about how much I fucking hate multi-level marketing schemes? It's because of this bitch. Because it all started because she was part of a multi-level marketing scheme for sex toys, which is like... I feel like, because the whole multi-level marketing thing is you, like, rope all your friends and family into it, but, like, that's just... I just think that's a... Huh? I just think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's all kinds of weird. But okay, so one of the things.
This is on Anniversary Edition, by the way. Yeah.
One of the things that you do for when you're in a multi-level marketing scheme, that is a little more normal if you're selling like wine or like leggings.
I mean, it is a cult.
Well, yeah, but like you have a little party where you invite all your friends over, and they like sample stuff or look at stuff, and
Trinkets,
then they
odds and ends,
they
that
tell you
sort
what
of
they
thing.
want to buy.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I tried to let my mom take me to an Avon party, and she didn't have the heart to tell me, like, it was an MLM, because I was 6, and I really wanted to go to the Avon party.
Thought it was just a party.
Yeah, I thought it was just a party where we could eat cookies and play with makeup, but it was a scam.
It was a scam. I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to go to the Avon party.
Well, you know, now you're an adult and you can walk into like a Sephora whenever you want.
Yeah, but they don't give you cookies at Sephora.
I mean, we can just bring our own cookies. Who's gonna stop us?
That's true, actually. There is a crumble cookie right by the one.
Anyway, you heard it here first, everyone. Bring cookies to Sephora.
Yay.
No,
Wait,
but,
an MLM with energy drinks? Oh, Jesus Christ.
oh, that sounds awful.
Anyway, sorry.
No, but so you have these parties, and she had one for her sex toys.
Wasn't it Pure Romance? That's
It
what
was
it's
Pure
called?
Romance, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's many sex toy MLMs, to be fair.
I think it's a bad idea. I'm gonna be honest with you, but anyway.
Yeah.
Which included a guest list of such, you know, people you would want to do this with as her mother, and
God fucking damn it.
yeah.
I forgot she invited her mom to that. Holy shit.
And my mother, who didn't go.
Thanks, David's mom.
That was real. That was
Absolute W of you to not go.
That was I appreciate it immensely. I'm not sure I ever would have mentally recovered had you gone.
That's the thing, is it's not like she could have even hid it from you, because she tried to invite me.
Do
Yeah,
come back.
yes, Shitney,
While I was 15.
Shitney attempted to invite everyone, but also was her cousin, you know, who this story is largely about.
Oh, no.
And her cousin, I need a fake name. We'll call her
Benifer.
No, that's we'll call her Megan. Her
Okay.
cousin Megan, who at the time was like dating this guy, who
Wait, who's the guy?
I don't know. I never met
remember.
him.
Oh, I didn't know if that was important.
But they were engaged at the time, actually. But they invited Megan, and Megan invited a friend to come along to this party.
That's right.
And they're going to the party, and Shitney's taking people aside afterwards, and is like, you know, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this?
Yes.
Like, you know, like what do you want to order? Because like, okay, I guess the line for one of these parties is, I'll look at dildos with my friends. I just won't tell them which one I'm buying.
Oh, that's weird. Well, at that point, just commit to the bit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, so, but anyway, so she's taking them to the side, and Megan brings her friend with her, and, you know, Shitney's like, yeah, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. And they're talking for a little while about it, and eventually they get to the point where the cousin suggests a threesome between the three of them.
Sweet
So,
home Alabama.
to which she immediately goes, no, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? And And this is how we found out that her cousin was a lesbian.
He
And it then ended her engagement because she's
was trying to fuck her cousin.
and a lesbian.
Oh, she's engaged to a man. Okay.
Yeah, she is now married to this other woman, and they have a baby.
See, I'm a big fan of lesbians, but I'm not a fan of incest. I'll say that on the record.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's crazy though. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. Why?
And she told all of
Something.
this to like 15-year-old me while we were working at the ice cream store between customers. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, we really shouldn't have let that slide.
No, we shouldn't have.
Like, we
but it was
didn't
kinda
know.
funny.
We were fucking 15, but like...
Looking back, it was kind of funny, though.
Yeah, but it was also... awful?
Yeah, but I can laugh about it now, so it's fine.
That's fair. I don't know, man. That was like... Listen. What's the cutoff point for you in terms of relations where it's no longer incest, blood, or otherwise? You know, I don't want to think about that.
Just make sure you're not on the same family tree at any point.
If you're on my Ancestry.com, if you're on my 23andMe, then you're not for me. I just rhymed me with me. I'm going to kill myself.
Wow.
I don't know how to write lyrics. It's okay. I have no bars. But like, if I see them on my thing, then okay. Actually, let me amend that. If they're on my Ancestry.com, no. Or if they're step whatever the fuck.
What are you doing, stepladder?
I mean, a stepladder's fine. I'm just not wanting to be a freak, you know. But like that is the one thing where like, and maybe it's just like, I heard quite a few stories of this where I grew up, but of people just being like, oh, it's fine, it's my stepbrother, it's my stepdad. It's like, no, it's not. Huh? What? I think that's still. What?
But remember, we're not related by blood.
I think, you're not my real ladder. Listen, there was this one girl when I was in high school. Did you guys read Fahrenheit 451 when you were in high school?
Where the fuck is this going?
I swear this is related. Okay.
I'm not sure I believe you. but
No,
okay.
it is. It is. We have really weird high school stories. No, okay. So like in Fahrenheit 451, if you didn't know, I don't remember the plot entirely, so I might be fucking this up incredibly. But like there's a guy and he has like a character that's like a younger, like teenage girl. But it's very much like a father-daughter relationship, if I recall correctly. Like, it's not weird. Like,
It's meant to be a father-daughter thing, but like
let me
she's
look it up, because I deadass don't remember. Hold on.
I know that the male character's name was Montag.
Yeah.
I forget what the girl's name was.
Yeah. It was really funny, because she was one of those people that, like, romanticized the book Lolita. So I did a book report on Lolita specifically so I could call her and her boyfriend weird. Because they would, like, roleplay, like, DDLG shit at school,
yeah,
and it was
it's not
really
okay.
weird. And I remember, like, because your boyfriend was the type that would be like, actually, and I remember, I don't remember
God, I'm
much.
fucked.
Oh, you fucking died. But I don't remember, like, a bunch
I
of
might reload that
high
one.
school. Yeah, that's fine. I don't remember a bunch of high school, but I do remember doing a book report on the book Lolita, and him, like, being like, well, actually, the age of consent is, and I remember I looked at him and I said, well, actually, it's still weird regardless. And, like, I got bullied a lot in high school, but people did respect me after that.
Well, also, I mean, Lolita is a book about abuse.
Yeah,
so.
it's not cute. Anyway, right? I think her name was Mildred, whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Yeah,
No, it was
sounds
Clarice.
No, yeah.
I don't fucking
Was
know.
Mildred his wife?
I think Mildred was his wife. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But basically, right, like, yeah, if you have the age of consent memorized, please don't get within a 60-foot radius of me.
I just had a weird idea. We should get friends together and we should write book reports of books we read in high school without being allowed to look anything up again.
I mean, I read a lot of gay porn in high school, David.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so, like, we were doing a thing on 451, right? Fahrenheit 451. And she basically really liked our English teacher, right? You probably know where this is going, and if you don't, it's not good, right? She really liked our English teacher, and I remember, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's just like I'm laughing because it's so fucked up.
I'm laughing so I don't cry.
Yeah, but at one point she very clearly had a crush on our English teacher, which there's a lot to unpack with that. And basically, she commissioned art of the two characters. Into the Wild. Wait, I liked Into the Wild. I thought that was a good book. I liked it. Anyway,
Nerd.
shut up. But anyway, she commissioned art of our English teacher. She commissioned art for our English teacher of the two characters, like Montag and the girl. But the way it was drawn was very like romantic, right? Like it was very like they were holding each other. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, okay. But then she gave it to my English teacher, and my English teacher thought she drew it, so he hung it on the wall. And that was just there for, like, the next 2 years. And that was very strange to me.
Yeah?
Yeah, she commissioned weird art for our English teacher, and our English teacher didn't know better, and it was just there for, like, 3 years.
Pay for this.
But yeah, and then she, I remember, actually, no, because her boyfriend, okay, this is, like, dark, but it was, like...
Okay, be careful where we go here.
Okay, well, okay. So I was friends with this kid in high school who was kind of peculiar, but I was like kind of into him because he was peculiar. You probably know who I'm talking about.
I know it's one of two people.
It's one of two. Yeah. But basically, he was very, very tech savvy, and he was really into like ethical hacking and stuff like that.
What was that?
But he also did some unethical hacking.
As one does.
But well, I would say this is ethical. But I remember he like basically he found a way to get into this guy's, her ex-boyfriend's Google Drive account, and he had like a whole manifesto of girls in the school he wanted to have sex with. And I remember like it was weird because
Did he self-title it a manifesto?
No, but that's like the best thing I can come up with.
Okay, all right.
Because he
That'd be
also
even
had
weirder.
like it was like chapters of like what he wanted to like do.
Oh, I'm sorry, I made you bald.
I'm
again.
fucking bald. Anyway, it was like chapters for like each girl for like what he wanted to do to them, and then there was a chapter about how he had sex with his dog, and then there was a chapter about how he wanted to fuck his dad. And I remember my friend found this, and he's like, I thought this was just gonna be cringy. I think I'm gonna call the police. So...
Imagine expecting, haha, this is so weird, and ending up with, I need to call the cops.
Well, the whole reason I found out about it is because I was in the book. And he was like, hey, Eebee, really weird question. Do you talk to this person a lot? And I was like, no, not really. I think they're kind of fucking annoying. And he was like, well, there's something you should know. And, yeah, that happened. And then nothing, happened. Like, they didn't investigate it or anything. It was just like, damn, that's crazy. Don't do that. And that was that. And then I graduated, and I never saw him again. But I will be so real. If I see him in the news, I'm not gonna be surprised. Did you have anything weird like that?
No. We had fight week.
Oh. Well, fight week was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you didn't have, like, any, like, felonies at your school?
I mean, one kid brought a shotgun to school by accident, but like...
Yeah, we lived in Yeehaw land. That was like a common occurrence at the time.
Like,
not now. I feel like people don't do that, but like...
It wasn't like by accident, but like, so like...
It was like a hunting rifle he left in his car, right?
Yeah, and it was the day before Buck Day.
That's
which,
right.
For those of you who don't know, there are certain states where the first day of deer hunting season
is a holiday. Yeah.
Offices
we didn't get
closed.
We didn't get off for Buck Week, but all the Pennsylvania did.
My college did.
Yeah, your college got off for Buck Week. I did not get off for Buck Week.
But yeah, so he was planning on going straight from school to like his hunting spot.
Yeah.
But that was the same day that we had like the they would occasionally bring in drug sniffing dogs just randomly.
They're sillies.
And because people were stupid and would leave shitloads of weed in their
I mean,
lockers.
as high schoolers do, really.
Yeah.
What's
No,
a
I mean
milk
it's
drinker
kind of
you
like
doing?
I don't know what you expect, but
Yeah.
they hit on his car and he had a shotgun in the in the trunk.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it was one of those things where I didn't realize how weird my high school experience was, because stuff like that happening was like a common occurrence of like people being like awful. Not just students, but like teachers too, which was like, but then nothing like ever came of it, and then I found out years later that my principal was a pedophile. And then I was like, oh, well, that explains why none of that stuff got looked into, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Alright.
if the cops came sniffing around, they were gonna figure it out.
Well,
with your
that's,
principal.
yeah, so like none of the things got reported because they knew it would tie back to him. But yeah, that was my high school experience.
On a slightly happier note, the guy that I was talking about,
The gun guy?
yeah, the gun guy, he is on Instagram as a small influencer,
good for him.
and he drives around Florida in a van and he fishes.
Wait, that's wholesome.
And it's it's one of the
He's
things
a
that he was
fishing
always
Florida man.
he was always super into. So good for him.
Good for him. There's still, yeah, I don't keep in touch with like fucking anybody from high school. Ah! Got bonked. What?
I heard the noise. I usually don't hear the noise. I was like, oh,
Oh, look at me! Usually Pathfinder went with my friend, his dad, and his dad's Marine friend who had 2 kids, and one was really fucking weird. And one day we sat down and one of the kids was there, and the explanation was that he was sent to Michigan to live with his grandmother for a while after using his brother's laptop and email to sext to some girl. Oh my god! What the fuck? Yeah, that sounds like something that would have happened at my high school. People were fucking weird.
I can't believe they sent him to Michigan. Michigan doesn't deserve that.
I don't know. I think it's funnier to imagine that the concept of going to Michigan is a punishment. Send him to Michigan!
Fuck, I forgot about the rocks.
Send his ass in the Great Lakes. Oh, you know what? We were talking about like Gen Alpha slang earlier. You know what I don't understand?
What?
Because I heard this all the time, but I never learned it. Why are kids obsessed with the state of Ohio?
I don't know.
Why is the state of Ohio a meme now?
I think the joke is that it's not real.
But... What?
Jetmir has some things to say about
Jet,
Ohio.
you guys hear Jetmir meowing? What do you think about Ohio? Oh, now he's not talking. Can't back it up with the sources. Jetmir, it's not good to spread misinformation on... No, you're spreading misinformation. You need a source.
I know one of the states is on the SCP wiki as being a collective hallucination.
Which one?
Oh god, I think it's Massachusetts.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Ohio isn't a real place. Like, is that genuinely what they think? Like, we have Google Maps. You know? Like, listen, I know it might sound silly for me to be like, do people actually think Ohio is not real? But fucking, we had 10-year-olds that don't know how to read, okay? It's a legitimate question. Speaking of nutty teachers, my super cool and base social studies teachers had a joke during their post 9/11 unit where one of them left an envelope with baby powder in it in the other teacher's room, which they found funny until they forgot to take the envelope with them. The next teacher showed up, the school was locked down, the SRO lost it because this much anthrax would be like $1 billion worth. What the fuck? Ohio's such a nothing place to the point that isn't real. See, like, I get that, but the thing is like, maybe it's just because it's like 5th graders and they're like, they don't understand the joke, but they're saying it to be funny. You would like vaguely mention the state of Ohio and these kids would lose their fucking shit. That was the funniest shit ever to them.
You would mention like, oh yeah, this guy is like, he was born in Ohio.
And they'd be
then
like, ah! Like that. They literally freak the fuck out and it would derail everything.
Would they talk about the Skibbity Ohio Riz?
No, but one time people were talking and I said, that's not very skibbity of you, and I had no behavioral issues with that class for the rest of the year.
You have committed crimes against
Sir, what?
I think I traumatized them.
What crimes did I commit?
Yeah, what crimes did you I mean, you did steal that one candlestick like 5 hours ago.
What? Not in Falkreath, I didn't.
2000s Gen Z social jokes is that it shouldn't make sense. Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, I do like the really, like, surreal memes and stuff like that. Like, those are funny, you know? But, I still don't know what skibbity means. Like, I know it's, like, skibbity toilet, but, like, what does the word skibbity mean?
Why do I have a 10,000 gold bounty in Falkreath?
What the fuck
What did I do? I haven't been here.
Wait, do you even have the marker for it?
For what?
For Falkreath.
No, like I just got here. What did I do?
That's crazy. Did you, like, maybe insult somebody?
No.
Skibbity is a word with positive connotation. Skibbity.
Apparently, I
think you-
assaulted someone 41 times.
Well, that's not very skibbity of you,
and
David.
murdered one.
That's extra not skibbity of you. It was just words in a song. Oh, okay. I mean, it's fun to say, you know? Like, I could easily turn that into a vocal stem if I wanted to. You know?
Okay, hold on, real
Markiplier E based.
quick.
I feel like the deep fried memes, but in TikTok format. Yeah, I can see that. See, Riz, I understand. Like, Riz is one where it's like, okay, it makes sense. Like, charisma. It comes from the word charisma. That makes sense.
Still
Okay?
a little stupid.
Well, yeah, but it's like logical. You know what I mean? And like, okay, I know that like I can't win an argument debating which fucking I don't know what the fuck phantom tax is.
Yeah, I never understood that one.
I don't get it.
What did I do?
Yeah, what did you do?
I don't know.
Riz is just AAVE, right? I think so. I don't know for sure. But I believe, I mean, that's how it is with a lot of slang, is it starts with AAVE and then it's acquired, you know?
What's the console command to reduce my bounty? Because I genuinely don't know what I did for this.
I don't know, but I know you can go to Leveler's Tower and clear it. And you should have the node already because of the mod.
We'll do that. I was going to try to avoid the Leveler's Tower, but
No, it's
we'll
fair,
just go
but
in
it's
there.
convenient, you know?
We'll just go in there and clear it, and then I'll come back.
But yeah, that's how it is for a lot of like slang in general. Is it kind of starts with that, and then people adopt it, and sometimes they adopt it correctly, but not always. Not always. But you know, listen, I like saying funny words. You know, I like saying stupid shit on the internet, and frankly, I think I'm really great at it. But like, sometimes even I don't get it. You know, player.paycrime go. Oh, okay. Well, we're already here, so go and wait. Do you know how to? Do you know where you need to be?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, go click teleport pad. Okay, and then go to, I think it's the lab. We're gonna cook some meth. In Skyrim. Okay, so turn around. And then go, there should be stairs.
Oh.
Okay, and then one of the buttons will clear your bounty. I don't remember which one.
Cleanse crimes.
You've been cleansed of your crimes. Yippee! You reached a level of stupid slang makes me appreciate what is at this point the internet dialing for English. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. There's some words where it's like I feel like if I said this in public, people would think I'm a crazy person. But
Such as?
well, I don't know. Like I feel like there's some things where, not maybe words specifically, but like memes. Like there are things where you think they're like widespread and known, but then you realize it's like this video only has 30,000 views. You know?
Yeah, for a long time I would reference the I did this to me thing when I was in college, and then I forgot that no one else knows what that means.
I mean, has it been long enough where we can explain that, or are we doxing ourselves if we
I
explain
don't know.
that?
I mean, we don't go to high school. We don't live in that county
Did you
anymore.
see a dog out there?
That's true. Okay, so hold on. There's not enough light,
Oh,
so
well.
that's why it's not picking up my face.
I think I was
Guess
also
I'll
in the
stay on the
frame.
lookout.
So
Keep your nose
Give me
clean while you're
Eebee's
here
face.
outside.
Give me the face.
I've been looking for you. Ah, a
I
letter
don't
from
want to
the Jarl.
explain it, but I'm also like that would probably
Looks
be
like that's it.
doxing us.
Got to go.
I mean,
But is it worth it to dox ourselves for the meme?
the video is statewide.
That's true. Okay, the video is statewide, so that's okay. So basically, Maryland has a heroin problem. And to combat that heroin problem, they did what any school district would do.
Made a movie about it.
They made a movie about it. Not just a regular movie, a home movie about it. And I don't remember jack shit fuck all about the movie. But the thing is like, there was a scene where
Good
the
to
kid
see
doing
you.
the heroin overdosed. And I think it was meant to
you?
scare us.
Yes.
But like,
well, there's a group.
the
The
thing
cut
is
they
it
were
was
giving me
really...
was good at
No,
first.
he didn't overdose. He was
Good.
crashing, and the dealer that got him
Until
addicted
later.
was like, "You did this to yourself. You need to figure it out on your own. I'm not helping you."
But the way they framed it, because I know this sounds really fucked up, but hear me out. The way they framed it is it's just this montage of the dealer going, "You did this to you," and then the kid going, "I did this to me."
As
But
he's
he
like-
like said it like that. But the thing is they played it like 10 times, just over and over and over again.
with a little reverb as he's stumbling and running through an open field.
And we all knew where the open field was too, because it was fucking, oh my god. But the thing is it's like, everyone thought it was a meme because the acting was just so fucking bad. and they played the I Did This to Me sound clip so many times, but that was like a very, very local meme for a while. It's now statewide in the state of Maryland, but it was... If you look... Okay, I'm not going to tell you what to look up, but if you can find it, let me know.
And then I went to college in Pennsylvania and would quote it because it was just like part of... It was just a joke I made so often.
Yeah.
And people stared at me like I was fucking insane.
No, but like, those were... It's not, but like, it's fine. I don't care. But like, yeah, I don't think... I think it's recent that they made it a statewide thing. Because they remade the movie, like, in 2015? I think 2016?
It was the year we were... It was our senior year, so 2017.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like, maybe it's statewide then, but when I went to college in Maryland, I was on the Eastern Shore, and no one understood it either, so I feel your pain, David. This is 43 minutes long. I think if you just search up I Did This to Me with the name of the video, you'll find the clip. It was some... I'm willing to risk doxing myself for that, because that shit was funny as hell. Just, no one's figured out how to do anti-drug videos well, I think. You know? Like, what was the other one? Wasn't there one with weed, too? Or am I thinking of something else?
I don't know, but everyone was always just like, if you smoke a single marijuana,
You'll die.
your heart will implode.
I remember signing the little flyer that said, I promise to not do drugs.
And alcohol.
And alcohol. Ah! Can I have my hair back?
No. Not until you promise that you won't do drugs or alcohol.
I won't do drugs or alcohol.
Okay.
Yay.
It's gonna be a game for me now to secretly take your hair away and see how long it takes for you to notice.
Listen, the bald button, I forgot it was
You need
there.
to rebind
The
that.
thing is like, I didn't set the keys, Hex did, right, when he was rigging the model. And One year they had an assembly where somebody from Delaware or whatever came in for a nephew dying from drugs for about an hour. See, let me make this clear, okay? I think that there is a drug problem and it's awful, and our way of how we as a country handle people that have drug issues is abysmal, and it's sad, and it needs to be reformed. However, the anti-drug videos they show you in high school are always fucking funny. I'm sorry. They are always fucking funny.
They're not good.
They're not good. And that's why they're funny. I don't think drug abuse is funny. I think shittily made movies is funny.
Well,
Let
that's
me
the
be
thing,
clear there.
they're so poorly made that it's like
I
the
kinda wanna do
message
drugs
is
out of spite.
completely lost.
Yeah, like, well, when you frame it like that, shit, okay. But, like, do you remember, I remember you told me, because we all had to watch the birthing video, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, because we all had to, this was a countywide thing, we all had to watch a video of a lady giving birth, and she was just, like, spread eagle, like, pushing that thing out, and, like, the camera was, like you got every angle from that, you know? But David's health teacher, well, do you want to tell the story?
Okay, alright, so this guy,
This was a VHS tape, by the way.
he was hilarious most of the time. But what he did... Oh, I made you bald again. What he did is at the beginning of the, like, family wellness and sex education, like, part of the course.
I love family wellness and sex education.
Sure you do. He started a running tally of every food that he would ruin for us.
Oh my god.
Due to his analogies. So this is the kind of person we're dealing with. And when we start watching the video, he's kind of hamming it up, like while everyone is like trying not to be like gross about it, but being like, I kind of don't want to watch this.
The childbirth video?
Yeah, the childbirth video. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's like kind of like. He's hamming it up with it. He's just like,
Are
it's so
you saying
gross.
you're fucking...
Yeah, no,
Your health teacher was hyping up the birth video?
Yes.
Oh my god.
But what he did afterwards was he paused it, and he was like, okay, now I understand. You know, that was a lot for everyone to go through. You know, I know that you probably have questions, but first, before we get to that, and he goes and turns around. And he rewinds the tape, and he goes, "We're putting it back in." And then he plays it in fast forward. It's like, "And out," and then he reverses it again, and in.
Something
And he did that like
about-
5 or 6 times.
Yeah, something about watching a woman envelop a child in her coochie would be traumatizing for me, I think. Like, I don't think I'd come back from that one.
That was the worst part. Like, I don't think I need to say that, but
I mean, listen, we just watched the birth video, and our health teacher told us that if we laughed, she would beat the shit out of us, which is unfair, PBH, like, do your shit. You can level up here and then not get fucking murked.
I am aware.
Okay, we'll just want to make sure, because you've gotten murked a lot this stream.
Yeah?
Maybe even more than I do on my stream.
Yeah, but at least I don't get lost in a hallway.
I'm going to fill your shoes with bees.
I'm on fire!
Where are you going to find all those bees?
I'm going to save the bees.
I'll end your
Put them in your shoes.
To put them in my shoes.
Yeah! It's very good cause. David dies and we save the environment.
Don't die.
Oh.
I'll just have bee stings on my feet. I'm not
We
allergic
need to
bees.
sacrifice David to save the planet.
Fuck.
Why did the I did this me bit go on for 3 minutes? Yeah! It goes on for 3 minutes! And when I forgot there was a guitar riff in the back.
That's what I'm saying, is it's
You
like...
can't have a video that's meant to scare me about the dangers of drug use and then have a badass, like, guitar riff going on in the background.
If anything, they
Like-
made it cooler. It's like, oh shit, I get to go on a fucking, like, psyched out experience in a field.
And there's this guy playing guitar.
That's
Oh, hell
that's
yeah.
actually kind of sick.
Yeah, I would have listened. It was.
Anyway, don't do
was-
drugs.
Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
Except,
okay.
I mean, like you can smoke weed
You
a
can
little if
smoke
you want. I'm
weed,
not gonna.
it's fine.
That's fine.
That doesn't count.
Just
Don't do cocaine
don't do heroin. All
Or
right, that's all
heroin.
we're saying.
or meth. The big three.
The big 3.
How many drugs are there?
A lot. A lot of drugs.
Like more than 5?
Yeah.
Oh,
A lot more.
like more than 10?
Yes.
Well, I'm talking like illegal drugs.
Yeah.
Why did they make that many?
Money?
Like,
I
you know,
don't
like
know.
fentanyl's the latest anti-drug craze. Yeah, I think I heard about that. Like they're lacing drugs with fentanyl or something like that.
Well, no, like they'll use it to fill out other drugs, but like, what? The media has taken it and turned it into like, if you're in the same room as fentanyl, you will overdose and die.
Oh,
That is not how that works.
wait. Hey, back up a little bit. What's going on?
Greetings, sister. You look weary.
Oh.
She's trying to sell me drugs.
Speaking of which!
If you're
So,
interested,
David, what are we gonna do?
What are you talking
finest
about?
skooma, the sweetest moon
What,
sugar,
this is now a
at a fair
PSA.
price, of course.
Alright, now, David is faced with orc women trying to sell him substances. What's the right choice for him to respond?
Give me all you have and we
Yeah.
both walk away.
That's not gonna happen.
Great choice!
I'll put you
When
down.
faced with a drug dealer, rob them.
Mercy.
You gotta get them before they get you. You gotta have the upper hand.
Foos! That's all you got.
Wait for your magic
death
to
brings me
recharge.
honor.
If you die to this drug dealer that's half naked, I'm gonna laugh so fucking hard. Steal them drugs. Yeah, we'll loot her afterwards.
Finish them
Don't
off
worry.
with your knife.
Don't worry. And we can't let the drugs like go to waste.
If you
Like,
have-
if we don't smoke them, who will? You know,
If you
like,
have dragon shouts, use them now.
Foos!
like someone's gotta dispose of the
Damn
drugs.
you.
And we're good, loyal citizens. So David, we need to take the drugs so no one else can take the drugs.
Now that I have these, I need to dispose of them so children won't take them instead.
Mm-hmm. I think you clicked the.
I tricked the sleeping tree staff. Yeah, where is the skooma?
It might be in food.
Why is it? That's not okay. Well, whatever. I need to reload. I drank the mead with juniper berries. It's a good bit, but I need the mead.
Does a fuck ton of drugs, drinks a historical artifact.
That's what someone on drugs would do.
I mean, yeah, this is just for demonstration purposes. We still have the drugs, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Can you do it again? Just be more careful this time.
There we go. I'm not a Jedi.
Nothing happened.
They just gave me stamina. It's bread. They're bread.
Why are her titties out? Oh, well, that's fine.
He's wearing fur armor.
Oh, well, that's fine. Listen, 6 skoomas, like, that's 6 skooma that's not in the hands of children.
Yeah, I'm
So it's for a good cause, really.
I'm doing this world a service.
I'm doing my part. Are you doing your part?
He's not. He's also seemingly upset that I'm looting his,
Well,
looting
maybe his
compatriots, but
friends
that's fine.
shouldn't have died. Skill issue.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Like,
Okay, I don't...
You did good, Scrub. Sorry.
Does this mod pack have the heads mod?
What? What?
There's heads in jars.
I don't know, but we could find
Well, we're
out
gonna find out
if you
because
want.
there's one in here. If they do, they don't. Okay.
Okay, so no head.
No head.
I'm sorry. That was
Aw.
like it was right there. It was right there, bro. Low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, are my chickens fixed?
Heard they're reforming the
That
Dawn
chicken's
Guard.
normal. Wait, look at the other
Vampire
chicken.
her hands to
hunters or
yourself.
something in the old fort near
Aw.
Riften. Might
Boyd
consider joining
chicken.
up
I
myself.
don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty
It's
fucked
not
up.
a
Though.
chicken though.
No, it's a chicken.
Well, vaguely.
In a manner of speaking.
It's kind of like it's a chicken in the way that like how do I describe
Listen,
this?
conceptually, I can tell that is a chicken. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, it's good enough for me, I guess.
Listen, I think the chicken's fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it okay to be opaque? Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Is
It's
it okay to be
translucent.
translucent?
Yes, it is.
Like, what
Yes.
about
Oh.
his organs?
What do you need?
Why are you? Wait. Why are you
Need
need to talk
something?
to him?
Tell me about the Period Shrine and cat. Okay, fine.
Yes.
You
fuck
can
you.
just go there.
I
that
know,
one
but
you
it's
can just go
easier to
to.
have the marker for.
Oh, you just look it up on the YouTubes or on the Google. That's what I did. And I got the quest done in a very reasonable amount of time.
What am I, a filthy casual?
It only took me 2 hours.
What the fuck is wrong with you? It's
I
a
mean, no,
single
I don't
dungeon.
Think, no, it wasn't that one. It was no, it was the one where you kill somebody. Wait, that could be all of them. It's the one where you like sacrifice someone to an altar. I
Are you
can't
talking
remember.
about the Boethia one?
Boethia, yeah, because it wouldn't let me kill somebody. It like they wouldn't like attach to the shrine for some fucking reason. So
Skill
it was
issue.
like bugged. Well, I did it eventually. I had to get one specific man to sentence him to die because apparently that one man was really good at dying. And it did work, you know. Hi, Demir. Come on, baby.
Didn't you hear him? He said, "Meow."
Can you guys hear him, chat?
He did one last sad meow and walked away.
No, he's still here. Hi, baby. You want to come hang out? Here, let me see if he wants on my lap.
You found lore for the heroin movie.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
want to come here?
I know they were remaking it my senior year of high school.
I think he... H. I gave him a pet, and now he's done. He's good. What?
Oh, he's back.
He wants attention. That's okay. You can come hang out. You can... Oh, he's scratching the carpet.
That's fine. They'll replace the carpet.
Yeah, that's... Sometimes you have to speak in his language for him to feel comfortable. Like, sometimes when Jetmir goes, meow, I go, meow, back at him.
That's
And then we
something.
have a conversation.
You do that all the time.
Well, yeah. I need to talk to my son. I'm not an asshole.
Sure.
Like, you never talk to him.
Yeah?
Yeah. Why don't you meow? Why don't you meow at him?
I don't know. He gets very upset when I don't give him TikTok time, though. So.
Yeah, David has conditioned our cat where as soon as David comes home, David has to lay in bed and open TikTok. Like, specifically both of those things. If he does not open TikTok, Jetmir gets very upset. I think we might have accidentally created a tablet child.
And so
I
the
think
cat
our
can lay on
child-
my chest and watch you
I
videos.
think our child is addicted to TikTok.
No, I think what it is he's just upset I was gone. But
He
Yeah.
does watch the TikToks though.
He does. I don't know. He's fucking weird.
iPad cat. Yeah, he's an iPad cat. I mean, listen, Jetmir's a very special boy. He's very.
Fucking idiot. He's real dumb. I love him, but he's a moron.
Sometimes when Jetmir tries to catch bugs, he doesn't like. He'll find the bug and then he'll just stare at it, and then he'll just like paw at it really poorly, and it's like, no, bud, you gotta get in there, and he just then he gets scared, even though he's like 20 times the bug's size. He's a little scaredy cat, like literally, but you know.
In his defense, though, he has found bugs we didn't, and then we were, you know.
That is true. We did gaslight him one time where we were like, buddy, what are you doing? You're being so silly. And then there was a giant spider on the wall. That was
Let me
horrifying.
out of the
I still
kill
think about
cam.
that. Oh my god. If the kill cam killed you. Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
I would have fucking lost my shit.
Here's-
We got dangerously close.
Oh my god.
Oh, we have an amulet. Yippee.
All right.
Are you good? Are you good?
I think we're good.
Are you safe? Are you secure?
Gaslight,
No.
keep
Aw.
girl boss.
I am very
Dr. Phil,
insecure.
thank you so much for the follow. You don't guess I can keep girl boss. Welcome to the stream.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss.
I still think it's really funny the first time we did this and you didn't like know what my follow sound was, and then you were like, why is Yandere Dev talking to me?
Get him out of here.
I just like, listen, he's a shitty person. He's an awful person. But the way he says it is so fucking funny to me. I'm sorry.
It's not just that he's a shitty person, which is bad, but he also codes real poorly.
I
And
feel
that
like-
upsets me.
I feel like one of those is worse than the other.
Yeah, it's unoptimized Unity code.
To end this little game.
No,
No, it is.
no, I don't think it is.
No, it definitely is.
No. God damn. Yesterday I was watching my sister's birds and I brought one up to Amira and he pecked it. Yeah, animals are so cute when they are stupid.
Oh god!
Oh yeah, there's a man.
There is a man. Why are there so many of those?
Well, I don't know.
Go
'Cause-
away.
He's just chilling.
He is
What's the big deal? He's just chilling.
He's trying to murder me.
I don't know. I think maybe you're being a little over dramatic.
Well, one of us died.
Wait, does he have a phantom cock? Like, look. Oh shit. Okay, that's a real cock. Okay.
Well, whose fault is that?
Well, I wanted to make sure. I didn't think it like I thought it would be like a void or something, or like fade to black, but that's
Or wearing underwear?
yeah, or, like just something.
Nah,
but
his dick's just hanging out.
good for him. I mean, if else.
I mean, okay, listen, I give it shit, like, but like all of Undertale, all the dialogue for that game is in one massive switch statement. So like,
I don't know what any of these words mean.
pretty
I
much
went to music school.
it checks a bunch of conditions and then chooses. It checks a bunch of conditions and then switches to like a section of the code depending on those conditions. It's very inefficient. It's a very bad way to do dialogue, but it's
Yeah.
what they did for all of
I
Undertale.
mean, listen, it's still a good game regardless.
Yeah,
you know?
well, also the core difference is Undertale didn't fucking tank your CPU.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, Toby also did the entire game. Yeah, like, we can give him some slack. That's okay. Gotta make sure he doesn't have void crotch. Yeah, check your balls. Make sure there's nothing there that's not supposed to be.
Remember, get tested for void crotch
Get
today.
tested for void crotch. It's an epidemic. Didn't, like, the second rival for Yandere Simulator, like, just come out, like, a fucking decade later?
Who knows?
I don't know. I used to follow it when I was, like,
You
12.
ready to die today?
And now I'm 24. But, you know, that's okay.
That was also before we knew that he was kind of awful.
No, it's now public knowledge. I feel like everyone knows that he's kind of the worst. Like, it's kind of almost a meme at this point that he's the worst, you know?
This guy sucks.
Well, it's kind of a meme. Well, it was wasn't there a world record for how fast you could get banned from his Discord?
All right about it.
I think there was, actually. Like, it was, like, people were literally speedrunning getting out of his, like, getting kicked out of his Discord.
All I ever speed ran was getting banned from Club Penguin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. My record was 1:23 seconds.
Not really good, actually.
It's not.
Yeah, improve your score, man.
Listen, I blame Google for taking forever to get the verification email.
I really? Well, you should have done a different run once you were verified.
Well, no, you can't. It's from
it's
account
every time.
creation.
Oh, it's from account creation.
Yeah,
okay.
it's account creation.
Well, it's just RNG
to ban.
that fucked you up, really.
Yeah.
See, I kind of want them to bring Club Penguin back. I want them to bring Pixie Hollow back. If they bring Pixie Hollow back, oh my god, I will lose my goddamn mind. But I think that's why kids are so insufferable on the internet now. Genuinely, they don't have a place where they can all, like, be insufferable together. You know what I mean? Like, they're just in your YouTube Shorts comment section being the worst. We used to have that shit contained.
And now they're in YouTube Shorts saying slurs.
Yeah! Like, if they're, like, we don't have Club Penguin anymore. We don't have Pop Tropica anymore. Like, we don't got nothing. We just have Roblox. And that's... I mean, it could have been good. But... No?
I don't know. I mean, from the age of 7 on, I was partially raised by World of Warcraft, and that turned out all right.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. David, when are we gonna play Dress to Impress?
Never.
Why?
Because I have self-respect.
I think it'd be fun.
I think you're wrong.
I think what's happening is what you're really not saying is you're gonna get really upset when you get your ass beat by an 8-year-old.
I would never do that, because I am smarter than them.
But the thing is they don't know what words mean, so they just vote for the one that looks the prettiest, not the one that's actually on theme.
Well, then I will send them...
Like, I think I can literally see you making the cuntiest outfit on the fucking planet, then getting 5th place, and then screaming at the computer.
Well, no, I
think you'd do that.
I would simply write them a long-winded email explaining why they are wrong.
Yeah, and then you get banned.
Well, no.
I feel like that maybe wouldn't work. Neopets is still limping along. Am I the only one that, like... Okay, maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm fucking insane. But didn't Neopets have a weird connection to Scientology at one point? Or did I just make that the fuck up?
I'm gonna be honest, and maybe I'm stupid.
Yeah.
I had a Neopet growing up. Was there a game connected to it?
Are you fucking serious?
All I could ever find was a shitty web page. Like, I could never figure out, like, the game. I could never figure out the game part of it.
David! It was like fucking Webkins!
I could never find that part. Like, I knew it existed, but I could never, like...
The shitty webpage was the game!
Yeah, okay, then yeah, it was a bad game.
Good to see you.
It probably still is a bad game.
The Neopets girlies are gonna get your ass, David. Is someone calling me? Oh, my sister's calling me. Hold on. Let's see
Teach
what this
them
is.
to stop paying me.
Hi, I'm streaming. Do you
Here,
want to be on speaker?
You deserve a reward for your service.
Okay, hold on.
You
Do we
know
want to
what?
talk to little
I
Eve? Hold
like
on.
you.
Say
I
hi to
hereby
chat.
grant you permission to purchase property
Okay,
in
what's
Fog
going
Reef
on?
Hold.
What's
Talk to my
poppin'?
steward if you're interested. There is room in my court for a new... However, you help
What-
my
what
people,
is said story
and I'll
about?
make you my thane. On your way, then.
Okay, but
Don't dox
Until later.
anybody.
don't say what school you go to. Don't say the names of any buildings at your school, and don't use any real names.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So my college is called
I'm gonna fucking strangle you.
My social security number is...
No.
Yeah, here's my address.
Do you know what your social security number is? Like, unironically.
Do you know your credit card number and the 3 wacky numbers on the back?
She doesn't have a credit card number.
I don't have a credit card. I have a debit card.
Do you know your social security number, though?
I have it saved.
I'll be real, I don't have mine memorized.
You don't have
either.
your social security number memorized?
No.
How the fuck do I have my social security number memorized when you don't?
I don't know.
You're supposed to be the responsible one.
Who said that?
Anyway, what happened? What's the story? What's the tea?
So I got out of class and I saw that I had a message from you on my Instagram account.
From me?
And yeah, from me.
No, I thought you, did you say message from me or message for you?
No, for me.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't fucking use my Instagram.
Yeah. And I checked and it was one of those sororities on campus.
Oh, what did the sorority want
Let
with
me
you?
know if you see anything you like.
They were just like, hi. I was like,
You can call yourself Eebee too if you want.
yeah, they're like, hi, EB2.
Look around all you
like,
want, but
like,
well met.
okay,
Unlike my...
come join,
Some may call this junk. Me, I call them
I
treasures.
mean, to be fair, a lot of them are like national. So
It's fine.
that one's fine. Probably like Alpha Kappa motherfucker. I don't know. Was that the one?
No. I knew?
What the fuck is Phi New?
No, Mew.
Mew? Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
like mewing, like brain rot.
God fucking damn it. Okay,
No, she's cooking. Let her cook.
okay. What did Phi Mewing want with you? What did they want?
Like, hi, Eebee too. Are you like interested in joining like sorority life? We would love to chat with you about Phi Mew.
What about Phi Goon?
No. So, I didn't really know how to respond because I out of them.
That's crazy. I never had anyone like send me
Steal
something like,
anything
we want to
from
talk to you about
Can I get
sorority.
you
Like, I don't
something?
think anyone wanted to talk to me, period,
Oh, a
actually.
bit of
You didn't
this
have a
and a bit of
social
that.
media presence.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
also musical, so
Well, yeah, but I was still like in the same college as you.
Yeah, but everyone hates music too.
Yeah, that's deserved, to be honest. But anyway, continue.
so I before I responded, I went they I asked them about it. They're
Be seeing you, stranger.
about.
Okay.
And so I messaged back and I'm like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they're like, we actually have an event tonight, like a
Oh.
little picnic thing.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Oh,
okay. I
okay.
guess I'll go to that.
So you
And
went
I
to the
already-
picnic?
Yeah, and I already knew one of my good friends, I knew. Like, okay, I know
Phi
someone,
Mewing?
like,
You must be one of those wizards from the college in Winterhold.
Continue.
one of my good friends is in this.
Okay.
What are you doing that
I'm
for?
Like, okay. She's like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm going. She's like,
Welcome
oh
to
my
Dead
God.
Man's Drink.
Okay.
Here, take a look at this. Some of the Jarl's men came. Been talk of a little boy in Windhelm. Name of Aventus.
Well, don't get hazed.
Get this. He's been trying to
Well, that only
contact
happens
the
when you
Dark
start trying to
Brotherhood.
join.
Foolish
Oh.
lad.
You
Well,
don't know how this works, do
don't
you?
get. David, I was not cool. David, I have autism. I wasn't in a social group.
No one who was in Greek life at my college was cool. They were all idiots.
Oh well. Continue your story, EB2. Or was that it?
Hold on. No, I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm just chewing. I need pizza.
Oh.
Nice.
Okay.
Anyway,
Strangers
so we
like
get to the
you
event,
bring
and I
war.
talked to a bunch of the girls.
The girls.
The girls.
One girl.
They're all so nice.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was so worried that they'd be like me.
I trust you're not planning any
I
trouble.
mean, it'd be really fucked up
What
to
can I
invite
do
you
for
and
you,
then be
friend?
like, we don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah, like,
That'd be a little sick and twisted.
Hey, come to our thing. By the way, you suck. Like, what?
Yeah.
see, I feel like I've grown up with like ideas.
I'm
of,
sorry, I should really go
sorority
now.
being, like inherently bad.
I mean, it's like a. I mean, that makes sense. A lot of media portrays it that way.
Yeah, especially like with the whole like Bama Rush thing. Like,
Yeah.
this is not Bama. This is
Southern colleges are in a league of their own. They're like their whole separate. They're a whole separate thing. Like the SEC is its own thing.
Like you
Yeah.
wander Skyrim.
so, like, I had like a lot of the girls were nice. I
Okay.
had a bunch of new friends.
Okay.
And I was thinking I might genuinely like be interested in this.
Okay. Well. Okay.
I got a message like 20 minutes ago because like they're not doing like formal work. They don't do that in the fall, in the winter. But in the
Oh.
fall they do something called like
The god
institutional
Arcade was once
opening,
like us.
which is like really casual. Like they'll just like have a conversation with them, just like the normal.
I say this with peace and love. Something about their casually bidding on me, like peace and love, but what?
Well, that's just like their term for like getting you.
I feel like they should maybe come
well
up
met.
with a new
Unlike
term.
my brother,
You're
I've
bidding
no
to
dislike
get
of
in.
strangers.
Oh, I thought it
No
said they're
love
bidding
for
on
wallet.
you. I'm like, that
No.
sounds a little.
Welcome.
But
Let me
you're
know if you
thinking
want
of doing
anything.
it?
Think I got a clue.
Be mindful. My maid Teak. Oh, not against me. Last, are you loyal to Skyrim? Good.
Love talking to you guys.
Mind what you
Love
say.
to extend
The Empire has ears.
by me.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm on it. I'm thinking.
So, okay, here's the thing, right? If you want to be a Fi-gooner, right, I think that's fine. And if you think it'll be fun and something you'll enjoy, then do it. The only thing I'm gonna warn you about is sororities can be really fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So, like, I would call mom. Like, genuinely, I know you don't want to, I would call mom because that shit can get real expensive real fast. Dues for most sororities can be like $100 to $500 a year.
Yeah, nothing is free, and in sororities, you are the product.
Yeah, so I would call mom, okay? But I hope it goes good. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, cause like I feel like mom and dad were always.
Come
like,
on in. Just
partying.
Send them screenshots of the texts you got, and send them the sorority
Take a
website,
sip of the cold
okay?
water.
Something I want you to have.
And, you know,
Now,
maybe they'll
don't
see that
embarrass
Fi
either
Mewing
of us
isn't
by
so
saying
bad
something
after all.
savvy. Just take enemies and years.
But I'm gonna get back to
Both
streaming.
on
I'll talk to you
What's
later.
this, some kind of
But
code?
I hope
Need
you
as
get to
much
be the
iron
best
ore
Fi
as you
Gooner
can
you want to
dig
be.
up. He's not spying, but it's clear the Empire. Good work.
All right, love you,
Take
girl.
this.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
You may have seen the
She's gonna be
truth
a Fi
is
Gooner.
left.
Holy shit.
is also
Listen,
a vampire.
I love her so
No,
much.
it's too late for
And
the
I
war.
don't think all sororities
Big
are
Heart must
inherently
be
bad.
destroyed. If
But
this
they
gets
are
out,
all
my
expensive.
family will suffer great shame.
And we love my sister, but she did one time spend $20 on
Good. He will have fled
fancy
to
laundry
gather
detergent.
others of his
We
kind.
haven't let her live that down quite yet.
It had a vampire on it.
It was from Bath and Body Works. And don't get me wrong, I love Bath and Body Works. But you gotta draw the line somewhere. And for me, that line is $20 laundry detergent. It's not that she's like spoiled, it's that she's like, well, no, she kind of is. But like, I say that with love in my heart. It's like more so she's 18, no, she's 19 now. Fuck, she's 19 and she doesn't know what normal things cost. So she was just like, oh, I guess that's just how much laundry detergent costs, you know? But
spoiler alert, that is not how much
that
laundry
is,
detergent
yeah, for
costs.
anyone who might be also 19, 18 in the chat, if you're under 18, why the fuck are you here? But that is not what laundry detergent costs. Yeah, so.
If you're paying more than like $8 for a huge thing of laundry detergent, you're getting scammed.
You are getting scammed, even if it smells real good and is from the Bath and Body Works. How much laundry detergent was it? Like a bottle. Like, not like, I don't know, like fluid ounces, but it was not a ton.
Like 10 fluid ounces from what I saw.
Can we get back to the social security number thing, by the way? You guys don't have your social security number memorized?
I need it like twice a year.
Yeah, but what if your card gets stolen?
Then my social security has been, it doesn't, how is me memorizing it stopping that?
I don't know, I feel like you need
I
that.
don't
like,
carry
for
it around
jobs.
with me.
Neither do I, but I memorize it so I can, like, keep it safe.
Yeah, well, when I need it, I grab it.
Okay.
And I look at it.
Okay.
Or I keep it with me until I don't need it anymore. But, like, I don't just carry it with me.
I don't know. I always, like, my parents were very, like, you must get your social security number memorized or you will die, essentially, is what it was.
I keep it secure, and when I need it, I reference it, and then I put it back.
I don't know. I have mine memorized. Just in case, you know?
Okay.
Your parents...
We have covered this a few times.
Listen.
They are doomsday preppers.
Yeah, and, you know, they just want to cover all their bases. That's it. You know, that's it. But...
Listen, I think... I say this as someone who cares for you deeply.
Uh-huh.
You're the weird one in this situation.
I thought everyone had it memorized.
No.
Like, you memorize, like, your phone number, right?
Barely.
You don't have your phone number memorized?
The only reason... Damn, voice cracks.
Sorry.
I only have my voice number... my phone... English. I do speak it. I have my phone number memorized because it's been the same thing for like 14 years. But I can promise you that if I got a new one, it would take me at least a year to get that shit down.
See, I don't know. I mean, it is insecure, you know, because it's just a little flimsy card, you know. Put in my wallet, but my wallet never leaves the house unless it's changed to me.
I will say
it's in a wallet. It's at risk.
I will say they give you. This is what gets me about it. They give you a number that is important to your entire life. You cannot function in society without it. They put it on the flimsiest fucking card stock available.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it should be like cardboard at least, like hard stock.
Yeah, but instead they fucking take a used Post-it note, stamp this shit on it, and are like, there you go, don't sneeze in the wrong direction.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's fair, you know. I'm trying to think what else I have memorized. Are there things you're supposed to have memorized?
Yeah.
I don't know my blood type. Is that something I'm supposed to know?
That's something that I've always wondered in like medical shows, because they're like, oh, they have type whatever blood, and I'm like, is that like on a chart somewhere, or do I need to like,
I don't
if
know
I get
what my...
shot, do I need to be like,
Yeah,
I have
is
O
that
negative, or
something-
like am I just fucked?
Yeah, is that something I should know? Because I have no fucking idea what my blood type is. Deadass. You can't laminate it, copy it. Wait, you can't laminate it? I think my mom has mine laminated. Oh shit.
Don't tell anyone.
You're not. Oh. You're not supposed to laminate it. Why?
Fuck you. That's why.
I think mine is laminated.
Well, okay, they come with like the shittiest lamination known to man.
Oh, okay. Then that might be it. Because I was about to say, I'm like, oh no.
But no, you're not supposed to alter it in any way. What the fuck?
What is that?
That is a gargoyle. I'm dead. I am so dead.
Maybe,
oh my god.
Have you considered just leaving?
No.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
I think yeah, we gotta go.
Let me out.
We gotta go. We gotta go.
Oh god.
Do you have potions? I don't think they're following you out.
Do I have vampire disease?
No, but you do have an erection.
Oh, thank god.
Is something to keep on file with the rest of your medical information? Okay, well that's good to know. Easy to find out with the reactive antigen test, but it's best to know so you don't... Yeah, okay, cause like, we've talked about before how Vanya's a blood mage, and David brought up a really important, like, note. He's like, what's Vanya's blood type? And I was like, oh my god. And then it has me, because it was like one of those things where it's like, I don't want to give like too many spoilers, but it's like one of those things where it's like someone's gonna be like, oh, you can't do blood magic, that's bad. And it's like, well, why would it be bad? And my thought was like, I had to Google what happens when you give someone blood of the wrong blood type, and my thought was like, okay, maybe the reason they tell her not to do blood magic is the one guy that did do it was not a universal donor. And then they just swear off of it forever. But Vanya's like, oh, whatever the fuck, you know? But that was my, I had to like start researching like what does happen, you know? I've been researching a lot of weird things lately for writing, and like a lot of it is like stuff I thought I would be researching, like medieval buildings, architecture, how to describe, you know, stuff like that. But then there's also been some things I've researched, like how much does a horse cost?
The answer is a lot.
The answer is a lot. What was the other thing? Yeah, there's definitely a lot of weird medical shit I've researched. I had to research when the watch was invented.
Someone there?
It's just like little things here and there, you know, that you like don't think about.
We talked for like an hour over whether or not it made sense for a character to have glasses.
Yeah. And he does. He's cute.
And he's hot.
And he's hot. Yeah, my twink alcoholic elf. Love him to death, and he has glasses and he's cute, and I made him in Skyrim, and I spent 2 fucking hours learning how body slide works so he could have glasses.
Did you tell chat that Jasper died in the Pathfinder game?
So okay, I did play Jasper, my slutty little man that we have for our fuck 'em all playthrough in a Pathfinder game, and then he fucking died, and it is now canon that he has a do not resuscitate tramp stamp. Yeah. Then that happened. It was fun though. It was fun. Honestly, half the inspiration for Vanya's blood magic came from like Pathfinder 2e spells. Like, if you haven't played Pathfinder 2e spells, look up the spell Inside Ropes. Because that's kind of what's gonna happen endgame with her. It's just weird shit like that. But I kind of like eat it up though. Although inside ropes is a cantrip, and I feel like it shouldn't be.
What do you mean? You just rip out your intestines
I
and use them
feel
as
like
rope.
I feel like ripping out your intestines and staying alive should necessitate at least one spell slot.
Wrong.
But I don't know shit about game design, you know. So maybe I'm the weirdo. You know.
Hey, listen, it's a copper pot. It's a historical artifact, and I need it.
We're confiscating it for science.
I'm also waiting for the Jarl to show the fuck up.
Maybe you just need to wait for like an hour? Here, I have to pee real quick and get water. Make good choices.
There's a college of Winterhold Road.
Are you gonna make good choices?
I make no such promise.
Alright, I'm gonna die for a second. Well, actually, it just looks like I don't know what the fuck's going. Which,
Who are you
that's
to
accurate,
approach
actually.
the Jarl of Markarth?
But yeah. Okay, I'll be right back.
Very well. You may approach the mournful
Alright, Chad, so now that she's gone, here's
But
Eevee's
watch your
social
words.
security number. I have hers memorized, not my own.
You speak to Eebee,
Your social
son of
security
Arofdia,
number memorized.
Jarl of
You have
Markarth.
my social security number memorized?
Yes.
Are you a sellsword?
This is.
I don't like
we
your
are,
kind.
in
No
fact,
honor.
enacting the
But
relic
I can't turn
reclamation
away a
mandate. Thank
My
you.
scouts have
I
tracked
understand
down
that
one of the
reference.
Forsworn
Good YouTuber.
leaders.
I forget his
We will
name.
see.
2 for 4, I think. Good videos. In any case, we are. We haven't talked about the game in like 2 hours. I've just been kind of playing in the background. Oh, what? Nice. Lucky. That's a good one. No, but, so right now we're trying to become Thane of every hold. Obviously, trying to become Thane of Falkreath backfired because I am not killing that vampire anytime soon. Holy shit. So we're shifting gears a little bit, and I'm gonna go work on some other requirements for other holds in the meantime. There are a couple that are gonna be a problem. Solitude, Windhelm, Riften, and Markarth all require me to.
right?
Yeah, okay, we'll do
Did you
this.
see
one
what
here.
happened?
He almost killed me.
I think you dropped
whatever.
this. Some kind of
they're gonna
note.
require me to buy
It's
houses.
important.
That's gonna be a lot of money. I am not going to get that anytime soon. But we can complete the quest part. The important thing is that we need to do the Thane quest for every hold before we progress the Civil War quest.
Thank you for the hydrate, Deadeye. I have water again.
We will eventually need to do the Civil War, one side of it. But
What
because,
side do we want to do for this war, by the way?
I don't know,
Like,
probably.
Do you have a preference?
I mean, we're not a Nord, so probably. Although actually, Red Guards would
I
canonically.
mean, I'm
fight with
about to do the
Stormcloaks.
Nord thing, though, so like...
Okay, we can do the Imperials. It's fine.
Also, we should probably end stream soon, because there's not enough light in the house to detect my face.
What do you mean? Just move the lamp closer,
I
five-head.
probably could, actually. Hold on. I do want to end relatively soon, because I still work tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Here, why don't we clear out Kolskegger Mine, and then we'll call it a day.
Regrettably,
What
I
happened
have
to
to
you,
eat
Pop?
10 o'clock at night.
Kolskegger
I mean, I don't
Mine is
mind it,
lost,
but
friend.
I want to kind of rest
Was.
my voice a little bit
Hopefully
before I have to
Skaggy
go
will
to
send
What, do you
word to
wanna
the
wrap
Jarl
up now,
and
then?
something will be done.
I mean, it's up to
I'd
you
be
if
grateful,
you want to do Kolskegger
but I
Mine,
wouldn't
you
go
can.
there if I were
Also,
you.
Jetmir's
There's a whole group of them with axes and magic
What's
on their
that?
side. You'd never stay.
He wants to tell you about an exciting business opportunity where you can be your
Maybe-
own boss.
Yeah, and sell dildos to minors.
Yeah.
If you were not here earlier in the stream, we were telling a story about David's weird family friend that tried to sell me a dildo when I was 15.
She was my manager for 3 years.
Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, it's up to you. You know, I just want to rest my voice a little bit.
That's fine. Let's get to Kolskegger Mine real quick then.
Let me hydrate again.
Kill some Forsworn.
Jetmir is brushing against my leg.
Or actually, okay, do we want to do that or do we want to do a walkthrough of the museum?
Let's do a walkthrough museum and do a final, because since we're about to end, let's do our final tally.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're going to get to 300, because we have to end a little bit earlier today because I work. But I think we can still get to, like, 250.
Yo, real talk, Scold is a jerk, though.
Scold is a jerk, honestly. You're right. Geopolitically doing Stormcloaks fucks over the entire... I mean, yeah. Yeah, but, yeah, you know. That's what I made to end our stream. Listen, David has some weird family friends. Because not only did she try to sell dildos to minors, but she also got invited to a threesome with her cousin. But she did say no, so we'll give her that.
Yeah,
you know?
you
She
gotta
did
give
say
her
no.
that.
You know, points, she earned some points. Not many, but some.
A few.
A few. Hi, Blacksmith. Welcome in, gamers. Welcome in. Unfortunately, we are about to wrap up soon just because I have to go to work soon. But we are about to get our final museum tally.
Real quick, I just need to go make a gold ingot.
Oh, okay. What's the gold ingot for?
Gold claw replica.
Oh.
I could go steal it back, but like...
You don't feel like it?
I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you don't want to be that much of an asshole. I mean, that's what I did, but that's unrelated.
I'm sure at some point later I'll like swoon his sister and he'll hate me,
You'll
so
swoon.
it's fine. Camilla Valerius.
Guess what? What?
And if you say chicken butt, I will absolutely lose my shit.
He will do a felony.
I won't tell which one.
Although I did joke about burning a police station down earlier, and in hindsight, I don't think I should have done that.
I don't think you should have either.
Oh. What can I joke about burning down?
Orphanages.
Oh. I finally hit affiliate. Oh, congratulations, gamer!
Oh,
That's
nice.
awesome. Well, okay, so orphanages I can't burn down. What about like a Walmart? Would that be okay?
No.
Why?
People depend on Walmart.
What about like trying to think. Not a lot of good targets for arson.
A 5 below.
Oh yeah, we could do that. Who gives a shit about? Do any of you guys give a shit about 5 below? Well, I mean that is the one place I can get cherry Laffy Taffy specifically. So I do like so maybe I'll just steal it all and then I'll burn it down. Because I really like the cherry Laffy Taffy. You can't get in any of the variety packs. I've only found it at 5 below for some reason.
Okay. Well, we
do
do
you
not
have any natural science stuff to make?
No.
So let's see our final tally before we wrap up.
So we are at, I believe, 238.
238.
Which is not much for this stream, admittedly.
That's okay.
But we did do a lot of longer side quests.
We talked about some weird shit.
We talked
today.
about some weird shit. I ran in a lot of circles.
That's okay. See, now that's truly the Eebee Games experience, though. Like, you're living it.
I need to level up significantly more.
Amazing.
That's okay.
Simply amazing.
So, yeah, well, I guess we'll pick up here.
Yeah. Is it okay if I take the main chair back so I can finish up and wrap up the stream?
Well, how about I just scoot my chair back?
Yeah. Well, David, yeah, the setup we have for this is really scuffed, by the way. It's just both of our gamer chairs squished into a corner.
Goodbye.
If you're wondering why my model randomly stops tracking, it's because it can't see me.
I hit the lamp.
I told you I moved it. I think the lamp is caught on your chair. You got your ass beat by the you got your ass beat by the subjugated wench for 15 minutes. Yeah, you got your ass beat, bro. But you know, it happens. All right, let's see where the little thingy is, and then we'll do our little wrap up. Okay, where's the? Whew, okay, the mouse is warm.
Why you gotta say it like that?
I don't know. You have warm hands, I guess. Anyway.
Fucking weirdo.
I mean, it's just what's wrong with saying you have warm hands? Why? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Do you have the Buxom Wench Yuriana mod? I don't think so. I know we have Misty Sky, but I don't think we have Yuriana. I can check, though, right now, since we're alt-tabbed. Let me see. Yuri... Oh, no, I had it uninstalled. Apparently, I did have it at one point, though. Apparently. Maybe we'll have to see... I'll have to see why I uninstalled it. I may have... Because I know there was a point where I tried to install a bunch of mods you guys suggested. And then I almost broke my game. We learned that I am not invited to the MILF Factory. The MILF Factory is invite only, and I did not get it. But gamers, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Today was an experience. You know, I wasn't sure. These streams really are watching David play game and then just yapping. But I'm okay with it. I had a lot of fun, you know. So, gamers, if you would like to keep up with me, I do have a Discord. I post on YouTube. I did just post the revisions of the first 4 chapters of my book, and the next chapter is coming out on Tuesday. And I think that's it. So we will be I will not be streaming what's the word? I will next week's schedule is gonna be kind of light because I'm going on with vacation with my parents. But I will be back on Sunday. So it's only yeah, it's next week when I'm gonna be gone for a little bit, but that's okay. So gamers, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you for hanging out with me, and let's see who we can go raid. So who is live right now? Who can we pester? Let's see. We'll raid Bruise. Okay, Bruise is a very talented VA. There's someone I taught today actually. She's learning about opera. My voice is finally like my voice still hasn't fully recovered. Like I can't hit a C6 yet. Like I can like for context, if you don't know music, I used to be able to go up to this note. I don't know if that's playing, but like ever since I got mono, I can only go up to this note. So I still got a long way to go, but I was able to do opera today and sound decent. So I'm really happy about that. So it's a slow process healing, but it's getting there. The doctor told me not to rush it, so it's just gonna be like, well, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, you know. Let's see, what should our raid message be? Do we want to just do? Let's just do. I don't know. We did talk a lot about dildos this stream, but I don't think that's very polite. Let's just do. We'll keep it generic, so we'll do just Eebee raid. Cause I've only raided them a few times, I think. I don't want to go full whole hog. Eebee raid, and then this thing. So if you're subbed, that should work for you. And then if you're not subbed, we'll do this one. Eebee raid, and you can have the heart. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right, gamers. I will see you on Thursday, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of, or not on Thursday. Fuck, today's Thursday. I will see you on Sunday, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.